10:01, good morning from the Circa Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs 104.5 The Zone studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The women's Final Four is set in stone as Texas routed Michigan last night, 77-41. South Carolina got it done against TCU, 78-52, sending Dawn Staley to a 6th consecutive Final Four. It is the 4-1 seeds meeting this weekend, starting on Friday in Phoenix, Arizona, and it is the second time in the history of the women's tournament that it is a repeat of the Final Four from last year. South Carolina will face UConn Friday at 6 p.m. Texas will face UCLA with an 8:30 tip-off on Friday night in Phoenix for a spot in the national championship. Pro Day is today in Knoxville for the University of Tennessee. 14 former Vols will be on the field working out for NFL teams. Jamal McCoy garnering the most attention out of that group, the Tennessee corner and projected first-round draft pick, looking and expected to work out today after not running the 40 or doing any of the on-field workouts at the scouting combine following his ACL tear over a year ago. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Good morning. Welcome in on this Tuesday, and what a beautiful Tuesday it is in Music City. Glad to have you on 104.5 The Zone. We are, of course, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Hope everybody enjoyed their National Hot Chicken Day on Monday with 10% of sales going to your local food bank here in Tennessee, Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Our friends at Hattie B's always doing great work. We're going to attempt to do that for you over the next 3 hours. Robert and I with you until 1 o'clock. Buck, like we did yesterday, is going to stop by in the noon hour from league meetings in Phoenix, Arizona, where this morning AFC coaches are meeting with the media. NFC coaches spoke yesterday, and lots of interesting stuff to take from, especially concerning some quarterback situations around the NFL and in the NFC. But Robert Saleh is meeting with certain Titans media members that are in attendance as we speak. Mike Borganzi spoke yesterday, some interesting stuff there on positional value from the Titans general manager. And that feels like is what the Titans draft conversation at number 4 overall really boils down to, right? Best player available versus positional value. And as it pertains to the Titans roster needs, that's kind of the crux of the discussion, with Jeremiah Love continuing to pick up steam as arguably the best player in this draft. Robert, there isn't really anything close to a consensus best player in this draft, right? I've seen Arvell Reese be thrown out as that guy. I've seen Sonny Styles. I've seen Jeremiah Love. I don't know that there is a lot of consensus on truly the number one football player in this NFL draft.
Right. And I mean, and it's always going to be ambiguous about whether someone is better than another player. Like, it's hard to measure scope before we ever see these guys play in the NFL. But I mean, if you're looking at a positionless value chart, like, I think everyone would agree Jeremiah Love is the best player in this draft. He gets tagged as the best offensive player. He's probably the best total player in the draft.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the show today. Again, we are buck-less for the first 2 hours of the show. So if you want to take advantage of that, hop in on 104.5 The Zone TV as well. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, where you can chime in, seeing folks hopping into the F&M Bank chat. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel while you're there. But today, a big portion of the show is a look ahead to Pro Day happening in Knoxville. One of the last pro days for a major program that we're seeing in this cycle. Tennessee is kind of coming up in the rear. We've seen Alabama. We've seen Ohio State. We've seen Georgia already do their pro days. So interesting time for Tennessee to be doing it, Bert, with pretty much every head coach. No, not pretty much. Every head coach and every general manager is on the other side of the country right now. But we'll see what the attendance looks like. I feel like there's some interesting players for Titans fans to keep an eye on working out today in Knoxville.
100%. I mean, and there's a player that we talked about yesterday because of Matt Miller's mock draft that may end up having a bigger fall from grace than Jermon McCoy did, and Chris Brazzell. where they have to figure out where he is and what he is and what he's going to be, because I've seen a variety of grades on this guy to whether he could be a first-round pick or he could, if you're going off what Matt Miller said, he could be a late third-round pick. So showing up today at the Pro Day, I don't know how much that does for him, because a lot of the things he would have to prove, we asked him about the Combine, about playing in Heupel system. He said it was a more NFL system than people are giving it credit for. He can't really show that at his Pro Day. What he can show is that he's an athletic specimen. He kind of showed that at the Combine. So stacking those days, doing it again, I don't know if that's necessarily going to move him up a bunch of people's grades, especially after they already have a negative impact that we saw yesterday. And Matt Miller's not the only one that's saying this, by the way. There are other people that have dropped him if someone has a Matt Miller chagrin to them. But interesting to see how he shows up today.
Yeah, the wide receiver run in general is going to be interesting in this draft to see how it actually shakes out. It's kind of all over the place in terms of the projections right now, especially after you get out of that top tier of Carnell Tatum, Mekhi Lemon, and Jordan Tyson. But I don't know if Chris Brazzell is expected to run today. Like you said, his Combine performance was better than expected, especially with his 40 time at that size. But 14 players that played at one point or another for the University of Tennessee that are going to be on the field doing stuff today. They are quarterback Joey Aguilar, defensive lineman Dominic Bailey, defensive lineman Bryson Eason, wide receiver Chris Brazzell II, edge rusher Joshua Josephs, that I think is picking up some steam in this pre-draft process with some of his traits. Tight end Miles Kitzelman, defensive back Jalen McMurray, defensive lineman Jackson Moy, running back Star Thomas, safety Andre Turrentine, defensive lineman Tyree West, defensive back William Wright, the Tennessee walk-on, and the two corners. The two corners that potentially could make a little bit of draft history for the University of Tennessee in this upcoming draft, and Colton Hood and Jermon McCoy. And the history that they could potentially make is to be the first Tennessee duo since Eric Berry and Dan Williams in the 2010 NFL draft to go in the first round. And the majority of projections and mock drafts are predicting both McCoy and Hood to go in the first round. You mentioned Matt Miller's 7-round mock that we did yesterday on Mock Draft Monday. He's got Jermon McCoy going 12 overall to the Dallas Cowboys. He writes, Dallas's cornerback room is full of question marks behind Deron Bland due to the release of Trayvon Diggs. Bland is solid, but the Cowboys need a corner who scares opposing quarterbacks. McCoy missed last season following the torn ACL, but his 2024 tape was elite with 4 interceptions and 9 passes defended. The 6'1", 188-pound McCoy profiles as a physical outside cornerback with smooth-moving skills in phase. He would have been my top cornerback in the 2025 class had he been draft eligible. Miller also has Colton Hood going towards the end of the first round at 30 overall to the Miami Dolphins in the pick that Miami has in the trade with Denver. So we'll see if Hood and McCoy can get over that hump. Today is huge for Jermon McCoy. We expected him. We went into Indy pretty much expecting him to work out, right? Like there was no indication that Jermon McCoy, who again, many project to be the best corner in this draft, it pretty much boils down to either him or Mansour Delane, right? Out of LSU, a CB 1 or 2, however you want to list it.
Yeah, I think Mansour is kind of taking his milk. If I'm being honest, Mansour is probably a bona fide top 10 pick at this point. Like if you're sitting at 11 and you're the Dolphins going, God, I wish we could get a guy like that. I don't think that's going to be the reality we're living in.
Sure. Like what could Jermon McCoy do today to show he truly is 100% healthy that could catapult him back into that conversation over Delane? Is there anything there? Because the thing you hear from a lot of draft experts, the thing Dane Brugler said to us when he sat down with us at the Combine was, in terms of tape alone, Jermon McCoy is at the top there. But obviously there's a lot more that goes into that, and the guy hasn't played football since December 2024.
Right, and then he's going against a guy in Mansour Delane that didn't give up a penalty in coverage last year. Like, he was targeted something like 33 times. So he's going against somebody who also has elite tape.
Yeah.
I think there's very little he could do today to regain that number 1 spot, but not so little that he couldn't regain a spot in the top 20. Like, if he comes out today and looks fluid and healthy and really good out of his breaks and everything you want to see from an athlete, yeah, that would probably quell a lot of people's fears, but that remains to be seen. It's definitely something he'll need to do today. Another high riser in the draft conversation that I'd like to talk to you about is Joshua Josephs. This dude has been rocketing up people's boards as kind of just like your stereotypical size, speed kind of guy. What did you expect him to have this meteoric rise that he's having? Where when the draft process started, he was a day 3 guy, and now I think he could be a top of day 3, end of day 2 kind of guy.
Yeah, interesting. I expected Joshua Josephs to have a bigger year in 2025 than he did, filling those shoes that James Pierce Jr. left. You know, he leaves with a career high, but 4 sacks. And there's a lot more to that number, obviously. Tennessee's defense as a whole had a massive drop-off in 2025, which led to the firing of Tim Banks and the hiring of Jim Knowles as the defensive coordinator. I'm not terribly shocked, though. 6'3", 240 pounds. He has great lengths. He's got great athletic traits. He doesn't have the overwhelming production, and it is a deep, deep edge rusher class. But I'm not terribly surprised that he's starting to garner some attention because he does have a lot of the things that attract teams when it comes to that position. Now, he is going in round 5 on Matt Miller's 7-round mock draft to Houston, who here just continues to add. Houston, who has all the edge rushers. Matt Miller did not mock a single edge to the Titans in 7 rounds, and he's got the Texans adding to that depth. In fact, he's got Houston taking Joshua Josephs at pick 141, one pick before the Titans, who he has taking Bryce Betcher, the linebacker out of Oregon, at pick 142. But Josephs does seem to be the most recent fast riser of these former Vols that are working out today. And I guess if we're going to do a quick exercise here and try to figure out straight up, yes or no, will this player get drafted? Well, let's just start there, right, with these Tennessee players. We know Jamal McCoy and Colton Hood are going to get drafted. They very well could both get drafted in the first round. Chris Brazzell is a guy that you feel like could be a day 2 pick, second, third round. What would he have to do to sneak into the back end of the first? But Chris Brazzell's going to hear his name called. Joshua Josephs is going to hear his name called. I would think Joey Aguilar is going to hear his name called. And then you get into this sort of category of Tennessee players where I think Dominic Bailey gets drafted at some point. I feel like Tyree West sneaks in on day 3. But what about someone like Miles Kitselman, who did not have a good performance at the Combine? He had one of the slowest 40 times of the entire weekend, the slowest 40 time by any tight end. What about Star Thomas, the running back that transferred over from Duke last year? Andre Turrentine, the safety. There's a lot of Tennessee players with a lot to gain from a good outing today at Pro Day.
Yeah, and the problem with projecting whether someone is going to get drafted on day 3 in the 6th or 7th round, the 7th round has really turned into the UDFA target range, where you can lose out on guys as UDF or UDFAs because other teams are working to sign them. There's a big pool of money that every team can work with to sign UDFAs. When you see those signing bonuses or you see why did he get this much to go there? Everyone is working with a unique pool of money. So rather than fight over guys that you really like for UDFAs, teams with 7th round picks will just go, okay, who's the guy that we were going to give the most UDFA money to, and let's just draft him in the 7th.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, is this guy going to get drafted or not, because now it's no longer about, a 7th round offensive lineman, like in 3 years, maybe we could make him a suitable backup. Now it's, can we get these guys that we're going to be fighting people for in less than 6 hours? So could they get drafted? Sure. Are they going to get drafted? It's less likely. You're fighting a bunch of smaller school guys that didn't have the same pedigree or heralded prospects that other people were. So 6 and 7 rounds are really tough to gauge.
Stony Keely will join the show in hour 2 at 11:20.
Excited.
Yes, so looking forward to catching up with Stony, maybe on some of these Vols prospects that'll be working out today with 24 days to go before the NFL draft. Jamal McCoy's logic, essentially, at the scouting combine, it was kind of odd because he kept speaking as though he is 100% and healthy, but not ready to work out yet. And he kind of made it sound like, yes, he is healthy at this point, well over a year removed from that ACL, but he has not quite had the ramp-up time to be the best version of himself on the field. At least that was the case at this point a month ago at Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll see what Jamal McCoy looks like. I'd say one of the more highly anticipated pro days just for Jamal McCoy's purposes alone, right, as a first-round cornerback, and what he was not able to do at the Combine and what he will be expected to do here in Knoxville coming up in a couple of hours. So we'll keep you updated on that. Reminder that 104.5 The Zone is broadcasting live all day from the Titans Open House at Titans House tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Every show will be there. You can come experience the future of game day with a new look at the Titans' new Nissan Stadium, the new Nissan Stadium Experience Center, food, drinks, special guests. If you purchase a PSL at the event, you receive a brand new Titans jersey for free to come with it. For more info, visit 1045thezone.com/events. Join us out at Titans House tomorrow. All right, league meetings are in progress in Phoenix, Arizona. Coaches were speaking yesterday. They're speaking today. NFL headlines are next.
pro days and workouts and owners meetings and, do you want a cucumber sandwich, Buck? Would you like to play some golf today? All that and more. We go to Lucas Panzica for owners meetings, NFL offseason, and everything in between headlines.
This time last year, we were obsessed with the tush push. It was all we talked about. It was like this countdown to the owners' vote. And no tush push talk. There's no tush push proposal this year on the table. It will not be a discussion point with NFL owners. The big thing is the potential referee lockout, the looming potential of replacement referees again in 2026 in the NFL. CBA set to expire May 31st with the referees, and they appear to be very far apart from the league. We'll talk to Buck later on about everything that goes behind that, what the referees want, what the league wants. But
well, before we get to the referees, something was taken off of our plate that we do not have to discuss any further. So the Cleveland Browns submitted a proposal that you would be able to trade up to 5 years draft picks into the future instead of the current 3. They have withdrawn that proposal for lack of support.
Yeah, little to no support for that one.
So the Cleveland Browns are like the one dude in your fantasy league that like keeps trying to trade, but he's really bad at it.
Yeah.
So like only one person gets to get him every year because that's usually when he gets sworn off of trading. He's like, all right, I'm not going to get God again. Well, like the Browns were trying to get God again, and the rest of the league are protecting them from themselves. No, it's okay, buddy. You'd probably trade all of your future first-round picks for someone with allegations. So
5 years in advance is insane.
That's crazy.
Imagine that. A trade for a 2031 draft pick.
Someone who's probably still in high school right now. You're literally trading. If you were to trade a 2031 draft pick, odds are that the first overall pick in that draft is currently a high schooler.
Well, I mean, what percentage of current NFL general managers are still going to be employed by that team in 2031?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, what's the average lifespan on these career stints? What are we talking about here? So, yes, sensibly, the Browns removed that proposal. I really don't have anything on the referee thing because we don't have anything on it. That's just the big topic this week, and we'll see what else comes of it here in the next couple days.
I meant to ask Ramon about this, but it's still just so vague and weird to me that the NFL is so opposed to having full-time referees. Like, if they were full-time and they were members of the NFL or league front office or whatever, would they be open to scrutiny? Mm-hmm. And that's why they're against paying them? I do not understand this. Because every other facet of the game is people that are employed and paid very well to do the job. So why would we not do the same thing and employ the best referees to do the best job? But again, maybe they would just rather pay them pennies. The NFL doesn't seem like a penny-pinching league, so that makes no sense to me either. I don't see the logic in that. I want someone smarter than me to explain it to me.
So here is how Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones of The Athletic.
But his name was... What? No, that's Little John.
Yeah, that's Little John.
Yeah, just you go. Okay.
But he writes that the NFL, which pays referees on average $350,000 per season, including base pay, bonuses, and other benefits, wants to redirect some of the annual bonus money toward high-performing officials and increase the probationary period for new officials. The league also wants a deeper talent pool, basically a practice squad of officials to tap into if poorly performing officials need to be replaced, which he does not directly say, but reading between the lines, sounds like the thing that the referees don't want.
Okay. I could see that.
That is, according to The Athletic, what the NFL wants, to redirect some of the annual bonus money towards the high-performing officials.
Okay.
So to have rewarding principles for officials that actually officiate the game better, and to have a deeper bench, quite literally, to tap into if certain officials need to be replaced. And the referee union is saying, oh, no, we don't want that.
All right, that's cool. I have a solution. Did you see the robot that Melania was hanging out at the White House with?
No.
It's just like a robot, like an AI robot. Those are the new officials. NFL, order 32 of them. Ever how many you need for games? Well, I guess how many referees are in a game? Line judge, back judge. Maybe like 4 4 for each game every team plays. So we need at least 25 of those robots to be our new officials. And then that way, you can fuss at them. They're robots. They don't have emotions. You don't have to worry about sending that robot a death threat. You don't have to worry about telling that robot he sucks or his wife's cheating on him or something. You can say whatever you want to. That robot doesn't care. Robot's got a life, and his life is this, to please us. AI referees. They would be better than replacement referees. I guarantee you that. Everything would be called to the letter of the law.
I mean, we'd all be in favor of this, right? Jim on the F&M Bank chat says incentive. It just makes too much sense, right? Incentive for referees to perform better and for there to be, a rewarding principle, and also the opposite, right? If you're a poorly performing referee, the threat of being replaced at any given moment. And referees are saying, oh, well, no, we don't want any part of that. So we'll see how those discussions continue on. Also, this time last year, league meetings were very contentious last year when you talked about the tush-push, the kickoff rule changes. It was a very newsy week last year, this year less so, but there is a proposal of a modification that will allow the kicking game, or the kicking team, rather, to declare an onside kick at any time during the game rather than only when they are trailing or in the fourth quarter, which is currently the case. The surprise onside kick obviously died with the kickoff rule change last year. Another proposed rule change around the kickoff would eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally boot the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 40. And a third kickoff rules proposal calls for modifying the alignment requirements for receiving players in the setup zone. So tweaks to the current kickoff setup, another thing that will be discussed this week at league meetings. But there are some nuggets on player personnel stuff, probably things that, NFL fans care about a little more this time of year. Jauan Jennings, still out there. The Murfreesboro, Tennessee native, the VFL, who started his career in San Francisco. I think we all expected to find his payday somewhat early on in free agency. Hasn't been the case. He is still an available free agent. Matt Barrows, who covers the 49ers for The Athletic, said, quote, I spoke to a team of officials around the league, and I asked about Jauan Jennings, and the answer is obvious. He thought his market was going to be bigger than it was. Back in the summer, the 49ers were negotiating a deal, but Drew Rosenhaus and Jennings thought that he was worth more than the 49ers were willing to pay, and it turns out that the rest of the league agrees with the 49ers. He's too good of a player not to land somewhere in late April, early May, but it is not going to be at the $15 to $20 million price tag that he was seeking. So Jauan Jennings still out there. The Niners said, we can pay Mike Evans less. He's a future Hall of Famer, and if we can keep him healthy, then he can be our Jauan Jennings replacement. And Jennings still looking for a new home. Do the Titans still make any sort of sense for Jauan Jennings? They've already brought back one VFL Tennessee native home in Alontae Taylor. Does Jennings make a shred of sense for the Tennessee Titans?
Not before the draft. Not before the draft, because if you sign him before the draft, you're inherently promising him something. You're promising him snaps and game recognition where it's not. If you draft somebody that is also at that position, you would be hindering their development. I think that because of where everything is currently positioned for the Titans, I would rather them draft first, and then if they have a need at wide receiver or for a need of that type of wide receiver, then sign him after. Because it doesn't seem like anyone else is also in a hurry to get this done. I don't think Jauan signs a deal like 6 days before the draft. At this point, he's probably looking for a good landing spot to have a prove-it deal so he can go hit the market again as a 30-year-old and hope to cash in.
Yeah, so you'd be surprised if Jauan Jennings finds his landing spot pre-draft.
Yeah, it depends. Like, for some teams, it may make sense. Teams with less draft capital, teams with less pressing needs at wide receiver, and they say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and sign this guy, check our box, and then go into the draft BPA style. But yeah, if he signed a deal before the draft, it would surprise me. Same thing with just about any other pressing NFL free agent. Like, you don't want to sign somewhere, and then they draft someone that either relegates you to depth or you're on the job training this next guy to take your job. I don't think anybody in the NFL likes that.
Speaking of the 49ers, John Lynch, the general manager, was asked, of course, about the electrical substation that the conspiracy theorists are alleging directly lead to the Niners' constant injury problems, the substation that is directly located next to the team's facility. John Lynch said the team hired an independent scientist to investigate the substation, and the scientist found what Lynch called, quote, a big nothing burger. And he also said that 0 free agents or their reps even so much as asked about the substation during free agency. That is Nick Wagner, the ESPN Niners NFL reporter.
Well, I appreciate him putting it so eloquently so the layman could understand it. You know, I was really expecting him to just give us the scientific whatnot of it all. Nope.
No jargon whatsoever.
What was his phrase?
A big nothing burger.
Yes, okay. Thank you to the scientists we paid to do incredible research on this. It was a big nothing burger. You can all go back to your laboratories and doodle with your beakers.
Also, this Brandon Ayuk thing remains interesting for San Francisco.
Weird,
isn't
man.
it the strangest situation? Help me out here.
Well, not really strange. I think it's weird, but it's pretty easy to understand.
Okay, so tell me what I'm missing here as I try to refresh my memory on everything that went down with Brandon Ayuk. He wanted that new deal with San Francisco.
They said no.
They said no time and time again.
He wanted to be traded. They said no.
Right.
They were like, you're on this team, let's play. So he decided, I'm just not going to show up.
Yeah.
So he forfeited all of the bonuses within his contract.
He was injured, though, right? There was an injury involved.
I said bonuses. I meant guarantees. At some point in this, sure, he was probably injured, but he was not injured last year. He could have played. And that was the whole reason and the merit behind them canceling out his guarantees and bonuses.
Yeah.
So he's essentially a net nothing to them on the cap room. They can cut him whenever they want, and it doesn't cost them any money because he has forfeited all of his guarantees. So they're being petty. They could cut him and let him be a free agent and go sign with the Commanders that he's been rumored to do for the last year and a half. But instead of doing that, they're like, you held us hostage for over a year. Where we had you on the books, we had expected you to play, and you hampered our team.
And they gave him a deal.
Yeah, he was getting paid.
He got a 4-year, $120 million contract extension in August 2024.
Isn't that not what Alec Pierce just signed for?
Right.
Like, he was getting paid.
And then he went on to play in 7 games because he tore his ACL and MCL in 2024.
But he was acting like a petulant child and wanted out. He didn't want to play there. And he was assuming that they would acquiesce to that, and they didn't. They said, no, you're with us. You're going to play with us, which is a business. It's the name of the game. So when the time came to say, oh, yep, they're going to cut him, and the news came out, yep, he's signing with the Commanders, I think the 49ers were like, okay, hold on. Why did, after all this stuff that just happened, another team is so willing to give this guy money? Why would that be the case? And also, if you're so willing to give him money, maybe you'd be so willing to give us a draft pick, even though nobody in their right mind is going to give up assets for this dude that didn't even want to play for the team that just paid him $120 million. So
to recap, he wanted a new deal, helped them get to the Super Bowl, right? Had some productive seasons, 1,000-yard season in 2022, 1,000-yard season, 1,300-yard season in 2023. His best
was incredible.
year. He was fantastic that year. They picked up his 5th-year option, finally gave him that deal, 4-year, $120 million extension in 2024. He blew out his knee halfway into the season. And then as he worked his way back from the knee injuries, when it felt like he was well enough to play, he just said, no, I don't want to play. So I was very confused by it all because he got his deal. Was the deal not to his satisfaction?
It's probably something behind the scenes with the coaching staff, the front office, somebody he doesn't like there. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to play for them. He doesn't want to give his talents to people in San Francisco, which is his right, but it is also their right to forfeit his bonuses and forfeit his guarantees. Mm-hmm. So everyone is well within their rights of what they're doing. He is just the one who is reaping the negatives of this. So if anything, he's going to have to wait until, well, actually, I don't even know if he has to wait because of his guarantees being canceled, they can cut him in June and they're going to cut zero in half. So half of his guarantees would be this year, half of his guarantees would be in 27, which half of nothing is nothing. Yeah. So they could honestly hold his contract until the end of it.
Yeah, they want to get something out of it if they can, and I don't blame them. So it seems like they're all very frustrated generally by the situation. By the way, Kyle Shanahan, not a huge fan of playing in Australia, which the Rams and Niners will do in week 1. He said, quote, I don't see any pros. It's cool for the league to play globally. I think that's awesome. But as far as the team doing it, no, there's not much benefit to it. Sometimes it's nice to get a bye week after, but that doesn't happen in week 1. So Kyle Shanahan doesn't love having to hop on a 16-hour flight to start the season in Australia against a divisional opponent. I can't remember who the quote-unquote home team is. Maybe that's another part of it. Are the Niners the home team?
I can't remember. Yeah, but if they were losing a home game.
I mean, to me, that's ridiculous. Why are we playing divisional games on the other side of the globe and costing some of these teams a home divisional game?
Because of money. Money.
Speaking of the NFC West, Sean McVay spoke to NBC, PFT, spoke to ESPN, and is openly campaigning, basically, to get Kirk Cousins into L.A. as a backup to Matt Stafford.
I was looking at your depth chart earlier, though, and I saw that you said right around free agency time you were concerned that Mike LaFleur, now in Arizona, was maybe going to grab Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
That didn't work out.
Right.
They ended up with Gardner Minshew, but you got Matthew Stafford, you got Stetson Bennett. Is Jimmy G possibly coming back?
I would love it. I think Jimmy's working through his process right now. We would love to be able to have him. There's some other guys that are out there, but we do need to be able to add another guy into that room, and that's something that we're looking at. And, obviously people make some of the connections with Kirk, and if it doesn't work out with Jimmy, that's definitely something that, I have tremendous respect. Kirk is as influential as anybody in helping me get to L.A. in the first place. And so, I know he's got some other options and some other suitors, but Jimmy and Kirk are guys that I would love to be able to have back with us.
So, Sean McVay wants Kirk Cousins back in L.A. In all likelihood, Kirk Cousins is a backup somewhere, right, in 2026? Or do we still see a potential door open for him to start?
That would be tough and probably up to his preference. If he wanted to go start for a really crappy team, he probably could. But at this stage of his career, would he not rather just come to work, enjoy what he's doing, back up a really great quarterback in Matthew Stafford, and be there if he needs him?
Yeah.
Like at that stage of your career where you just want a little solace and don't want to have to deal with a head coach who sucks or an offensive line, wide receivers, anything around you that's terrible, you can go somewhere and practice with the second team. And that second team with the Los Angeles is probably better than the first team of a crappy team that you would go to. But are they just not building like the hot NFL dad and like Infinity Stones? Like Matthew Stafford, total dad. Kirk Cousins, total dad. Sean McVay, total dad. Like who
I don't
else?
think Sean McVay is a dad.
No, he's not a dad, but he's like a daddy. You know what I mean? Like he's a good looking older guy. You know what I mean? So like if they were going to go add another, Jimmy G, that would be the four horsemen of hot daddiness. Like if they could build that looks like what they're trying to build. And if they're able to build a Super Bowl out of that, that'll change my entire team building philosophy. I just want hot dads at quarterback.
Well, it's better than what Aaron Glenn is trying to build with the New York Jets. Are you seeing some of these quotes, man? You've got a Jets fan back there next to you, and our guy Zach back there. Zach, I just want to say I'm so sorry. I just don't know what else to say to Jets fans when Aaron Glenn, speaking with Judy Batista yesterday, says there's, quote, no doubt about it that Geno Smith is his starting quarterback in New York, saying, quote, listen, he's done it. Those years in Seattle when he was, I think, comeback player of the year, man, he was up for MVP early in the season. There's no doubt in my mind that we brought a competent starter here to this team. And then to take it a step further, speaking this morning at league meetings, Rich Cimini, who covers the Jets and has been doing so for a long time, quoting this tweet.
Ask Rich.
Or tweeting this quote from Geno Smith, or from Aaron Glenn on Geno Smith, quote, he's the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land. There's not a more pre-fired coach in America than Aaron Glenn, right?
Ooh, pre-fired.
In America, not in the NFL.
No, I'm thinking about all of them, dude.
In America.
There's probably I'm not calling him dad, even if there's a fire. There's got to be an NBA coach that's like pre-fired.
Probably. But what do you do with that if you're a Jets fan, man? You just watched Geno Smith lead the league in interceptions, and I'm not saying Geno Smith can't be a benefit to your locker room, can't guide a young quarterback, can't be a competent backup. But to take it a step further and talk about Geno Smith like he's the guy that's going to bring the Jets back to where they haven't been in decades is so disingenuous. What do you do with that if you're a Jets fan?
I feel worse for the Jets fans that are waking up out of a coma after going in 2013, and they're like, hold on, wait. Who's our quarterback? And they're like, Geno Smith. Like, wow, dude, he must have been good. He's still our quarterback? 13 years? Wow. Oh, man. I can't wait to see Geno. It's like, buddy.
Well, wait.
Also, your wife left you. Like, anybody that was in a coma in 2013 that was also a Jets fan that just woke up, I feel really bad for you.
Unbelievable. Carrie on the F&M Bank chat says, well, that quote just made me say, oh, no. Funny enough. We have things to give away for Oh No.
We do.
I believe.
Some Weezer tickets.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
Where?
dude. Somewhere near us in Nashville. I hate when I don't have details for you, but I'm working on it. Yeah, but 2 tickets to go see Weezer.
615-737-1045. We'll tell you all the details, but all you need to know right now is that if you give us The best submission for what made you say, oh no, in sports this week. It can be Aaron Glenn. It can be Duke's historic collapse in the Elite Eight on Sunday. Whatever it is, the best submission is getting a pair of tickets to see Weezer.
At Bridgestone.
At Bridgestone Arena. When?
Well, hold on.
We'll give you that information later.
October 9th.
615-737-1045. Oh no, coming up next. Weezer tickets on the line, a pair of tickets for their October show inside of Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1045. The best submission for what made you say, oh no, in sports this weekend is headed to the show. Man, I'm going to see if we can't finagle some tickets somehow to go see Weezer at Bridgestone. Okay, I will start the bidding. Robert, we will step back into hoops. Will Wade is not what is making me say, oh no, in sports this week, but I will go ahead. Let's hear from Will Wade at his introductory press conference yesterday at LSU, talking about some of the anger coming from NC State after his departure.
I think some of the things have been mischaracterized on how I left, but I'm not going to get into I don't want to get it. I learned long ago, I'm not going to get into a back and forth on all of that. The people who need to know. And look, everybody has to, when there's a situation like this, everybody has to cover has to cover. Let's put it that way. And so I'm not, I'm at peace with how I left. I'm at peace with what we did. And, look, I mean, they're pretty mad for a coach they didn't think was very good. So, I don't.
So that is Will Wade speaking on going to LSU. And what's making me say, oh no, in sports is this visceral reaction coming from NC State folks when Will Wade is leaving for what is a better situation for him, what is a better situation in terms of the NIL investment that he's going to get, and what is right now a better conference in the SEC. No question, NC State, I would say NC State has a better basketball history than LSU.
They just have Jim Valvano.
Yeah, sure.
LSU has Shaq.
That's about, and Pistol Pete. That just about sums it up.
I mean, I'm an ACC homer, and I would probably still pick LSU.
Like, what do you, as a North Carolina native, what do you make of the intense backlash over Will Wade leaving NC State?
I mean, it's the exact same thing about Kiffin leaving. Like, people are upset about him taking a better job. Like, I don't know. I understand it, and Jay Billis is standing on his soapbox like, coaches can't leave. They shouldn't be able to leave, and players should be able to, don't be mad at. Yeah, I get it, but we're paying players now. So, like.
Yeah, and coaches have contracts that have to be bought out and honored in one way or another. So, I do think that is not an apples-to-apples discussion.
I get being a fan and being like, I hate this guy. He left. I understand that.
Yeah, but it's your prerogative.
But at the end of the day, like, if you're not an NC State fan, why are you pointing fingers and being like, why did he leave? That's like me being like, oh, Howard Stern hit me up and he wants me to be his producer. And everybody like, he should have stayed. He should have been on this show forever. Why didn't he? You know what I mean? Like,
no loyalty.
Yeah, you're going to something better for you. Like, I'm not going to fault him. It doesn't help that he is a turd.
Oh, yeah, he's so hateable.
Like,
yeah, that's part of it, too. And I mean, the scummy thing here is not Will Wade leaving to go back to LSU. It's the way LSU handled this around Matt McMahon, which should not be shocking, the way LSU has handled a lot of things recently. But Matt McMahon, not basically, I would imagine, just getting everything from social media. I don't know. The whole way it was handled was brutal. Not that he didn't need to be fired, but the way LSU went about it could have been executed better. What you got?
Yeah, I agree. This is also me talking to an attractive woman.
I don't.
My oh no is the minor league baseball team, the Pensacola Blue Yahoos, are hosting a brain rot night on 6/7/26. So here's the write-up for this night where they take on the Chattanooga Lookouts in Pensacola. 6/7. Leave your brain at the door and pay your phantom tax. It's brain rot night at the Blue Wahoo Stadium. We'll be celebrating all things that you see scrolling on your phone when you should be reading a book, talking to your family, or touching grass. Skibbity on down to the ballpark and rizz up your moots like your baby Grunk and get ready for a night of baseball maxing.
Oh, I hate it.
I hate it, but this is also... I want to credit minor league baseball for doing what it takes to survive. And believe me, in a day and time where banana ball exists and people are neutering the actual sport, it makes a lot of sense that you have to do this to get kids to come out. So good on them. But my oh no is for society that we let this stuff get. I mean, on the graphic, they've got a big old skibbity toilet and a big old toon sahur that I hate. I even know who that is. What? No longer do we read like Chaucer, Keats, like great poets or the composers of yesteryear. Now it's like, do you know who Cappuccina Ballerina is? Like, that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
That's a great submission.
Yeah, that's my own note.
Shout out to the Sounds. Opening night is tonight at First Horizon Park.
What's their theme night?
No brain rot, just fantastic fireworks after the game.
And
it's
good
a
hot dogs.
beautiful day to go watch some Nashville Sounds baseball
I love they dogs.
tonight at First Horizon Park, taking on Charlotte in the home opener. 615-737-1045. Best submission heads to Weezer. Tim in Hendersonville's up first. Hey, Tim.
Hey, my submission is the Duke Blue Devils blowing a 19-point lead to UConn Sunday.
Great submission. Thank you for the call. Stay on hold for your chance to win the tickets. I saw this stat today for the first time. 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament all time were 134-0 with a 15-plus point halftime lead. Now 134-1 after Duke on Sunday. Tucker in Hermitage is up next. Hey, Tucker.
What up, guys? My submission is staying with that same game, but it's just Dan Hurley's reaction afterwards with the jacket halfway off, going face-to-face with the ref, and also the Duke player not even attempting to contest that last shot. I know it was like kind of bang-bang, heat of the moment, but those are my two oh no coming from that game.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Tucker.
The
Dan?
worst part is, did you see what that player's Instagram handle is?
No.
Get a hand up.
No.
It's what it is. If you look at Get a Hand Up on Instagram, that is that player's Instagram handle. That would like...
Dan Hurley was also in peak Hurley form at the end of that game as well. Just a wild day in the Elite Eight on Sunday. Donovan in Nashville's next. Hey, Donovan.
Hey, what's up, man?
What you got?
Oh, well, it doesn't involve sports, but it does involve balls. Found out my wife is pregnant after our youngest just turned 17. Boom.
Oh, well, congrats.
New baby in
Thanks
the
for
house.
the call. I don't think that's what made you say, oh, no.
No, that is what is making him say, oh, no, because his youngest just turned 17. They thought they were done having babies, and now she's pregnant again.
Okay. All right.
He was like, oh, yeah, empty nest. We're about to turn one of their rooms into a gym. I'm going to be able to get fit. Wah.
Congrats,
Wah.
Donovan.
Congrats. And also,
Or sorry that happened.
yeah, either way.
But congrats. Congrats to Donovan. Tim in Brentwood is next. Hey, Tim. Tim, what you got?
From a Tennessee fan, I got to say 3-loss walk-offs. 5-80.
Yeah, honestly, thanks for the call, Tim. Remember to stay on hold. That might take the cake. Like, Duke is the layup, but for Tennessee to lose, to get swept on 3 walk-offs, one of them in 16 innings, a walk-off bunt by Vanderbilt, and the other, Tennessee up 5 runs going into the 9th at Hawkins Field and losing on a walk-off grand slam. Yeah, that's right up there. A good submission by Tim. Patrick in Smithfield will round us out. Hey, Patrick.
Oh, yeah, my submission is, I don't know if y'all saw this, it was some kind of spam account said that Angel Reese was the best player in the WNBA, and she tweeted back and said that I make this look easy, and then the actual Twitter account came back and said we have never submitted a list like this, and we do not condone this. That's my take.
Oh, no, that's a good submission, Patrick. Angel Reese getting got by fake accounts.
Do you think he was in one of those like hurricane simulators at the mall?
It sounded like it, or maybe like a skydiving simulator.
Oh, yeah, dude, those look fun.
I've never done one.
Me either, but like there's one in Vegas. Cheyenne did it where you basically put on a wingsuit and fly all around in there. I would be like a bug against the fan vent, like just stuck on the wall. Like there's no way my fat ass would fly in that thing.
I think Tim in Brentwood should get the tickets. I mean, it went so under the radar over the weekend. Everybody saw Duke collapse. The SEC, for some reason, played its biggest rivalries in baseball on one of the biggest basketball weekends of the year, so nobody was watching. But for Tennessee to lose on 3 consecutive walk-offs, including a walk-off bunt in extras and blowing a 5-run lead in the 9th for a walk-off grand slam, yeah, I think Tim gets the tickets.
God, well, you ticked off Tim 1. He already dropped off the
Tim
line.
1. Congrats, Tim 2. Thanks for everybody participating. Mike Borganzi with some interesting comments yesterday at league meetings, and we'll reveal them to you coming up next. It is 11:03. Good morning from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs 104.5 The Zone studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The women's Final Four is set, and it's the exact same field as last year. Only the second time in the history of the women's tournament that has happened. The first time since the mid-'90s, where the Final Four featured Tennessee. UConn housed Notre Dame 70-52 yesterday. UCLA over Duke, 70-58. Excuse me, that was on Sunday. Texas yesterday routed Michigan, 77-41. South Carolina over TCU, 78-52. The women's Final Four action will begin on Friday with South Carolina taking on UConn, Texas taking on UCLA in Phoenix, Arizona. Speaking of Phoenix, league meetings are underway. Coaches speaking out of the AFC this morning to NFL media, and Robert Saleh saying he expects the Titans to hold a joint practice with the Carolina Panthers here in Nashville coming up later this fall. The Nashville Sounds opening night is tonight at First Horizon Park. 6:35 p.m. is the first pitch against Charlotte. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Hour 2 underway, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Be sure to download the Hattie B's app today and stack those rewards. Lucas and Bert with you until 1 o'clock. Buck paid his way to owners' meetings, so we're going to try and make the most of it and talk to him coming up in the noon hour after he and other Titans media that also made the trip talked to Robert Saleh, which I believe has concluded. NFC coaches spoke yesterday, AFC coaches this morning. Robert Saleh covering a lot of topics, as did general manager Mike Borganzi yesterday. Now, there's no audio, no video from the scrum that Borganzi held with Titans media. I know Buck is there, Easton Freeze, Jim Wyatt, Teron Davenport, but this is from TennesseeTitans.com, what Jim Wyatt wrote from his and other Titans media members' conversation with GM Mike Borganzi. We start with pretty much the crux of the Titans draft discussion in 2026, and that is best player available versus, we'll say, positional value / roster needs, and kind of lump them all together. And Jeremiah Love is the centerpiece in that conversation because he could very well be the best player available at number 4 overall for the Titans. But the positional value aspect of it, not necessarily there at running back. The roster need aspect of it is not necessarily there for the Titans, who don't have a dire need at the running back position. Have 2 serviceable players, especially one in Tony Pollard, that can carry the load if needed in 2026. So it's a very interesting sort of paradox with those 2 coming together. But Jeremiah Love is being the most talked about and in many cases the most commonly mocked player to the Titans at number 4 overall. So again, no audio from Borganzi. Here's what Jim Wyatt wrote on TennesseeTitans.com. Mike Borganzi said the team has put itself in a position to take the, quote, best player available no matter what the position is. Borganzi made this point again and again. Quote, where we're at right now, we want to take the best player available. It depends on your roster construction too, but where we are at, we are taking the best player available. ... Later he said, we are taking the best football player. So I read Easton Freeze on this too, on A to Z Sports, where Easton kept pushing back, asking different, follow-ups, and Mike Borganzi kept coming back to, like Easton was asking follow-ups, like, so it doesn't matter the position, it doesn't matter what you have there on your roster, and Mike Borganzi just reiterated, we are going to take the best football player at number 4 overall. Now, they said similar things last year. They took Cam Ward, who, after the fact, the Titans said they believe is the best player in the field. A lot of other people wouldn't agree with that, but obviously the positional value of the quarterback and a team that needs one will have that quarterback's name called at number 1 overall. So with that in mind, should we look at all into these comments from Mike Borganzi and think that they should give even a shred of a bump to the likelihood of Jeremiah Love being selected by the Titans at 4?
This is a not sexy answer, but no. Like, I think what's going to happen is no matter who they draft, they would tell you, even if they drafted Ty Simpson at 4, they would tell you that they thought he was the best football player in the draft.
Yes.
This is a non-answer to me. Because if it was an answer and you were able to glean that it was something about Jeremiah Love, he wouldn't be doing his job and giving a vague answer, which is what he's trying to do. He's trying to give you nothing to go off. So I would say no. It makes zero mess in the yard about whether or not they take Love or whoever they take, because they would tell you afterwards that that was the best football player in the draft.
615-737-1045. Tyler on the F&M Bank chat, where you can also chime in on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, says, I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted Love, but this just seems like regular GM pre-draft talk. Yeah, I'm with you. The Titans could draft Sonny Styles at 4 and say he's the best football player in this draft, which, to be honest, you could make an argument for. The Titans could draft Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate, insert name here, Reuben Bain, David Bailey, and say they believe he's the best football player in the draft, or at the very least, the best football player that was available to them with the number 4 overall pick. And they absolutely could draft Jeremiah Love with that pick. But just because draft experts and the Dane Bruglers of the world, however qualified they are telling you that it's their opinion that Jeremiah Love is the best player or will be the best player if he's available at 4, yeah, I'm not going to run away with Mike Borganzi saying we want the best football player. I think Mike Borganzi is the kind of guy that we're just going to hear him say that before every draft pick, before every draft that he ever conducts as the Titans general manager. So, he went on to say, our phone lines are always open. We're going to do what's best for us, whether moving up or down during the draft. And typically around this time, once you get back from owners' meetings, that starts to pick up a little bit. That is a common thing, though. We call each other. These conversations are ongoing over the next few weeks here.
Oh, so they're trading back.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, we're just taking him at his word. Yeah, they're definitely we're trading up. Trading up to get somebody.
This is the game we play 3 weeks out from the draft when GMs and coaches all convene in one place.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love to move back if given the opportunity, especially if someone wants to give them more assets than it's worth to come up. But sadly, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. So, the other interesting point from Borganzi's sit-down with Titans media, a couple more here. He mentioned they're not done in the interior of the offensive line, quote, keeping all options open. The Titans added Austin Schlottman, the center, Cordell Volson, the guard in free agency. Obviously, they parted ways with Lloyd Cushenberry and Kevin Zeitler, still a free agent. Borganzi, according to Jim Wyatt, did not rule out the possibility of Zeitler being re-signed, but he did not indicate that the team has any plans in the immediate future to do so either. He just said, we're not done there. We have the draft, and after the draft, there will be competition at center. There will be competition at right guard. And obviously, Jackson Slater, a second-year player, and he did some good things. So, still some moving parts and pieces on a major position of need in the interior of the Titans offensive line. And he wouldn't commit to anything in the quarterback room. After the Titans signed Mitch Trubisky, Borganzi, obviously asked about Will Levis, said, quote, I think you can't have enough good quarterbacks in the room. Will has been great. He has been in there working out, and I know he is ready to go. He feels healthy. I think everyone has a clean slate in terms of the backups there. Cam is obviously the starter, but competition brings out the best in everyone.
Oh, Ty Simpson at 4.
Yeah, I agree with you in principle. There is not a shred of anything Mike Borganzi just said that should influence dramatically anything we think the Titans are going to do here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. From all the dirty work about what they're actually going to do is being talked about behind closed doors, like what he's alluding to happening after owners' meetings. That's where all the dirty work is done. If you would have asked him, yeah, who are the teams you talk to on a regular basis? Who are the guys you just call to chat up? Yeah, you're just buddies. Who do you call to talk to? He probably wouldn't tell you that either. So he don't know. He ain't saying nothing.
615-737-1045. Robert Saleh did say that the Titans plan to host the Panthers for a joint practice this season, this fall, I should say, in Nashville. He also mentioned that they're looking to potentially add another joint practice. But, all right, Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers coming to Tennessee. Anything that jumps off the page there in terms of matchups that could test the Titans ahead of year one of the Saleh era?
Yeah, you will get all of these new corners that they've added will be tested very early with Teteroa McMillan, Jalen Coker. Like, they've got a number of guys there that in one-on-one drills, whenever we're putting out all those drills to get pop on Reels and Instagram and whatnot, there will be a lot of fun to be had with Titans fans either being praising the additions or saying, why the hell is sophomore Teteroa McMillan mossing Cordell Flott? That will be an interesting matchup. And also Carolina's offensive line, They made a ton of investments both at guard and at tackle. The one thing to watch with them is their starting left tackle, Ike Ekwonu, got hurt last year. So they added Rashad Weaver, a number of tackles to kind of fill that spot up. So the Titans' defensive line, the new look 4-3, the new Robert Saleh look defense against that offensive line, that'll also be a matchup I'm looking forward to.
Okay, so we'll see if the Titans add any more joint practices. Buck will have more on those sit-downs with Borganzi and Robert Saleh when he joins the show around noon, or probably in reality a few minutes after noon. But we have somebody much better, much more enjoyable to listen to than Buck. Stony Keely of Football and Other F Words joins us coming up next. poet, podcaster, author. What other ways can we describe Stony Keely? Draft expert, ball knower.
Candle aficionado.
Can't forget. Stony Keely of Football and Other F Words joins us on 104.5 The Zone, getting into the nitty-gritty of the pre-draft process with our guy, Stony, who we don't get to come on the show often enough. Hey, Stony, how's it going, man?
Well, I'll tell you, Lucas, one word you could also use to describe me right now is exhausted. It is the 11th hour on the Stacking the Inbox draft guide. I am churning through hours watching tape, getting these evals wrapped up, trying to stay hydrated, trying to keep these cats fed and happy and off my case, and just trying to get through day by day. Just wrapped up the cornerbacks this morning, another deep group, 31 deep, going to be in the guide. On to the next position group, man. We're humming right along here. Appreciate you guys having me.
Is your draft guide Titan specific, or do you do it league wide?
It is Titan specific. Now, I do adjust to the consensus, so it's not like, just because I don't think Keith Abney II is going to be a fit for the Titans. I mean, he's still a top 50 guy in this class, so I'm going to put him in. But every evaluation that I write does have a Titan spin on it. And Zach Lyons has designed a proprietary algorithm that kind of compiles key metrics and size and stature of all of the players that have been drafted or selected by the people involved in this coaching staff and front office, and compiled all of this data to come up with the unique Titan fit rating. So it is Titan-centric, but that doesn't mean we're leaving out some of the top guys.
No, that's good, because, I mean, everybody out here that's listening to us right now is viewing the draft through a Titans lens. And the algorithm that you were talking about Zach having, he showed it to me last week at ML Rose, and it is exhaustive. And it's really interesting to see the guys that match what the Titans are looking for and how they're stacked. And it may not be the best guys at the position. Like, there were some guys in it that were probably day 3 picks, but when it comes down to it, they were better fits for the Titans than guys that were first-round picks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a really important tool, because Zach and I share the philosophy, the stats, the numbers, that sort of stuff are breadcrumbs back to the tape. So that's where we pair the analytical profile with with what we see on tape. And that's kind of how we find, okay, when the two things are pretty synonymous, symbiotic, if you will, that's where we know we might have a guy that Titans fans should be on the lookout for in this draft.
Stony Keely at Stony Keely is where you can follow him on Twitter. You mentioned you worked on cornerbacks most recently. There is an interesting cornerback taking the field at Vols Pro Day coming up here in a couple of hours. But before we get to that, I do want to ask you what stage of the pre-draft process you feel like you're in. Like, is it a perpetual evaluation stage? Is it an overthinking, an impatient stage? How would you describe the place that you're in now, 24 days out?
Oh, I'm still picking up new guys, Lucas. It's not like I'm evaluating and then getting all my thoughts and notes down on paper, and then I'm basically forgetting about that prospect and on to the next one. So, I mentioned the Titans fit ratings and how they kind of help guide who I'm studying on tape. The process right now is, all right, we've got a lot of the top guys, the consensus top 200 caliber guys wrapped up, but these pro day numbers keep coming in and they keep dinging guys that I hadn't heard of prior to that. Like, I'm working on the Latrell McCutcheon Sr., the cornerback out of Houston, over the weekend instead of, stopping to overthink. So I think that's one thing that helps me, is that I'm not, just staring at Mansour Delane over and over, or I'm not reading every little breadcrumb on Jermod McCoy. We're working, trying to get more guys that fit what the Titans appear to be building in that draft guide.
Well, and that is obviously a need for the Titans in this draft, but not necessarily in the first round, you wouldn't think, to your point. Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood, both Tennessee corners, set to work out today. Not exactly players that have been in the Titans draft discussion, but there will be more breadcrumbs on Jermod McCoy after he works out theoretically later on today. How much are you paying attention to the Vols Pro Day, whether that is based on McCoy's workout as a potential first-round pick or other Tennessee players that could be a better fit for the Titans later in the draft?
Yeah, absolutely. To lead with McCoy, I think he's one of the more interesting dominoes to watch in this draft because, if you're thinking about the Titans at 4 and the options are kind of limited, but sitting there at 35, I'm looking at a couple of guys like Jordan Tyson and Jermod McCoy that have some injury questions that McCoy needs a good workout to really solidify his status because he's just missed so much of the process. He missed the entire 2025 campaign. If we're going based off of 2024's tape alone, it's special. I mean, he's a top 5 player in this draft class, but there's so much time in between then and now that it presents a lot of questions to answer. Now, if he answers those questions well at the pro day and he ends up being a first-round pick, the impact I see that having on the Titans is that, well, that's one more good receiver that kind of slides down the board. If McCoy is being selected, that's another potential interior offensive lineman that could slide out of the first round and be available for the Titans at 35. So I do think it's worth watching. I'm not sure he's the type of prospect with the value, considering the questions, where you have to take him versus the risk. I'm not sure he's a guy that the Titans would really be in on, but I'll tell you, his teammate Colton Hood looks pretty good, and that is a guy that I think has a really high floor in this corner class. I think he could end up going a lot higher than we expect because of it. But if he's there at 35, man, you said it, Lucas, corner is not an immediate need for this team, but it would be really hard for me to pass up on that caliber of talent and the fit with the Titans at 35. So I think it's worth monitoring. And then some of the other guys, and I like Chris Brazzell quite a bit, the speed, the length, that sort of thing. I think there's issues with the frame where he can get kind of knocked off balance at times and doesn't necessarily have the requisite physicality down the field to be a ball winner at the catch point. He gets by more on his length and arms than the power at that point. And then I would mention Bryson Eason as well as a guy that's kind of flown under the radar, but has some real fire in his hands, has some good size, some good wiggle. I think there's a path for him to make an NFL roster somewhere in there, but that's going to be a crowded pro day, man. They've got a lot of guys in this class this year.
Stony Keely with us. 14 guys working out today in Knoxville. You can listen to him, Football and Other F Words, wherever you get your podcasts, along with Zach Lyons, dropping every Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, at Stony Keely on Twitter. Now, we did not mention Joey Aguilar, who will be throwing, did not work out at the Combine. He had a benign tumor removed from his right bicep that, according to him, affected him a lot during the season, and stands to reason he'll be just more ready to throw today at Pro Day. I believe he's expected to. But this quarterback class as a whole, Stoney, obviously it's Mendoza at the top, and the Ty Simpson discussion has taken up so much oxygen. But as a college football fan, I'm so intrigued by this quarterback class, not even on what they can be in the NFL with the rest of these guys, but just the path that so many of them have taken. Like, think about some of the names in this draft that at one point or another were either headline grabbers or players that before the start of the last college football season were very much expected to be first-round prospects. Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik. Those guys are all still in this draft, and we've barely uttered their name. Do you have that same sort of fascination in that arc that they've taken? And how does Joey Aguilar fit into all of that coming out of this Tennessee offense?
Yeah, no, we haven't done a lot of extensive work on the quarterback class because we kind of approached it with the mindset of the Titans seem kind of set at quarterback, so I don't know if they're going to be taking one early in the draft. But to me, I share that fascination with this class, Lucas, because I see a lot of guys that have certain traits or certain characteristics that you can really latch onto. And if you find the right fit, if you find a guy that has the skill set that you're looking for, I think some of these guys could develop into pretty nice backups. And potentially there are some talented guys that have starter-level talent that I think could emerge and ultimately get a chance in the NFL. You mentioned Drew Aller. That's a guy that injuries marred his 2025 campaign. At one point, this guy was considered like a first-round quarterback. And now you look at some of the decision-making after that 2024 season, things kind of fell off a cliff. I personally despise that Penn State offense. It's one of the most difficult offenses to evaluate quarterbacks and receivers in because it's so heavily RPO based. Some of the passing concepts are like half field concepts that are basically designed for the wide receivers to block downfield, to open up a screen or an outside perimeter run, that sort of thing. So it is kind of hard to see the talent with a guy like Aller, but I think it's there. It just hasn't really been tapped into. And then you have the guys like Nussmeier, and I would throw Carson Beck in the category too, of like experienced guys that just for whatever reason, for one reason or another, 2025 just was not the year that those guys intended to have, but you still have the bank of tape before that makes these guys look like capable quarterbacks. And that's not even factoring in the guys with talent like Cole Payton out of North Dakota State, Kalen Green out of Arkansas. I'm a big fan of Jalen Daniels out of Kansas, a bit of an older prospect, has some durability concerns, but can really layer throws and has some dual threat capability. Haynes King, the tough guy, the leadership qualities out of Georgia Tech. And then Aguilar, who you mentioned, like I don't think he's going to do anything from a talent perspective that's going to wow people, but teams are going to value what he went through this season, the leadership qualities, the toughness. And I think that's going to be enough to get him a shot somewhere this summer.
Stony Keely with us, Stacking the Inbox. Go check out his Substack. Go check out Sobros Network. Go check out everything that Stony does because everything he does is great. Stony, Matt Miller put out a 7-round mock earlier this week where he had Jeremiah Love to the Titans at 4, but we saw the negative side of taking him at 4. So I want to play a little Would You Rather with you. I'm going to give you 2 different draft scenarios, and you tell me which one that you would be more applicable to. So in the first scenario, they go Bain in the first round, Denzel Boston in the second round, and instead of taking Love, they take Mike Washington Jr. in the third round. In the other scenario, they go Love at 4, Kendrick Falk in the second round, and Zachariah Branch in the third round. Which of those is the more appealing draft day for Stony Keely?
I'm taking that first scenario, and I'm not the biggest Bain guy, but it's more about Boston and Washington there for me because I'm trying not to rank Denzel Boston irresponsibly on my big board. I love this guy. I mean, I get there are some speed concerns, but I always preface it by saying he wins matchups down the field, but then he has to come back to the ball because it's underthrown sometimes. And I think that the effect of that, it creates a sort of illusion that he's not really fast. Didn't run the 40 at his pro day, a bit of a red flag, but I think I'm comfortable resting on the tape. I think he's clean in and out of his breaks. I think he's a big-bodied ball winner that's going to win matchups down the field. And then Mike Washington, there's something a little funky about the tape where I don't think you see the explosive testing that he put on at the combine. I don't think that's consistently on the tape, and I don't know if that's like a scheme fit, what he's asked to do, if it's like a mental processing vision type of thing. But I'm willing to bet on the traits with Mike Washington. Both of those guys could be weapons for Cam Ward in this offense. Kendrick Falk is a bit of a developmental guy, really young prospect from everything I've read about him out of Auburn. He is a high character leadership type of guy. Going to step into the NFL week 1 and be a boost in your run defense, but has to work on the pass rush aspect of playing defensive end. Probably big enough to kick inside on some reps, like versatile piece. I get it, but I feel like he's more of a developmental guy where the Titans kind of need impact players early in this draft. And then Zachariah Branch, I'm a fan of his game. He just kind of feels like more of what the Titans already have in the receiving core. So I would look for more of a complement to that group, which I feel Boston is more than Branch.
The reason I like Stoney is he doesn't live and die with the names at the top of the draft. He doesn't talk about all the names that everyone is familiar with. So, he knows what he's talking about. He's talking about this guy. The reason I like Stoney is because he is diving into the trenches. He's promoting guys like Travis Burke out of Memphis. So most people around draft time have my guys. I would like to know who Stoney's homies are. Who are the guys that Stoney is higher on than the consensus? Who are the guys that Stoney thinks are going to make an impact that other people are overlooking?
Well, that's a loaded question there, Bert. Let me see here. I'm going to look through. I'm a big Bryce Lance fan. He's another guy that I'm trying not to rank irresponsibly high.
Wide receiver out of North Dakota State.
Yep, he is a great build, great speed, a little more refined route running ability than you would expect out of that program. I feel like they've kind of tinkered with their offense. They're throwing the ball a little bit more up there these days. Really complete prospect that you really just have to deal with the level of competition conversation. Like, is he going to be able to separate against NFL talent? I get all that. It's smart reservations there. I will say I haven't heard a lot of people talk about VJ Payne, the safety out of Kansas State. And this is a guy, to give you guys a little tease, this is a guy that sits very high in our Titan Fit ratings. He is a rangy guy. He's got some length. He plays hard. He is a patroller in the backfield that can crash underneath and really hit a guy. That's a guy that I feel like I'm way higher than the consensus on, and I would be looking out for on day 3 if I'm a Titans fan. Some of the other names, I really like Jalen Farmer, the right guard out of Kentucky. Big fan of Tyron Montgomery, the wide receiver out of John Carroll. Zane Durant, the defensive tackle out of Penn State. And we are doing our best to get the Conga line up and running, man. If you watch defensive tackle Renee Conga out of Louisville, this guy is a burst of energy. He's going to be a tremendous value for someone on day 3. And then Ephesians Prysock, the cornerback out of Washington, big, long guy that I'm pounding the table for, that looks exactly like what Robert Saleh wants in a cornerback.
All right, from Stoney's homies back to the top of the draft, the path that the Titans pre-draft conversation has taken, Stoney, I feel like started with edge right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. Ruben Bain versus David Bailey. It has evolved to so many people seemingly being on the Jeremiah Love or bust train, or maybe Carnell Tate enters the picture. I'm curious if it kind of circles back around to edge before we get to the first round in 24 days. I have a feeling that the Love buzz is going to stick around, but I do want to keep it on edge here for the moment with Ruben Bain and David Bailey. At this point, so late in the process where we believe we have all the information that we're going to have on those guys, I feel like we haven't done enough discussion on this show on exactly how different, how wide those prospects are from each other on the spectrum. Can you take us into that? What do you like and dislike about Bailey versus Bain, and why are they such different prospects at edge?
Yeah, and just to speak on the shift in the conversation real quick, I do think that shift happened after the Combine, where Love and Sonny Styles kind of checked all the boxes that you look for. And then Bain with the measurables kind of raised some questions, and then Bailey kind of avoiding some of the agility testing kind of raised some questions. And it feels like that's the source of where this whole thing started shifting in recent weeks. But as for Bain and Bailey, I like both of their tape. Now, I think both of those guys have legitimate question marks, and that's ultimately where I land on the conversation, is like, if I'm picking at 4th overall, I want a guy that I can rest my head on the pillow at night and go right to sleep. I'm not worrying about anything. With Ruben Bain, the play style kind of aligns with what we expect from Robert Saleh's defense. I mean, he's a powerful rusher. He's bursty. I think he does have some bend. He shows those instances on tape when he's very disruptive, very hard to corral for offensive linemen. But for me, there's a gap in his evaluation from the middle of the season, like 6 games where he had a half a sack, and I just didn't feel like he was finishing rushes. And it seemed like teams had adequate game plans to neutralize him. So the question for Bain, for me, doesn't have to do with the arm length. It's more about digging into that period of time and finding out why that was happening for 6 games throughout the season. So with Bailey, I think he is the more polished all-around pass rusher. He is a wide 9 guy. He is going to be lined up out wide, taking advantage of that burst, that first step, the hands, the spin move inside counter that he does. It's kind of the agility, right? It is like getting in those situations where maybe you win the corner, but you've got to bend it in to get to the quarterback. And if you've got to change direction, if you get rerouted from an offensive tackle, how do you respond to that? And without doing the agility question. Now, listen, I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be on the tape. I didn't notice it to be a problem, but that's competition against Big 12 offensive tackles. All due respect to Big 12 offensive tackles. It's going to be different in the NFL, and that's where you want to see him go up and do the agility drills at the combine because you have hard numbers to compare him to other players. So that's the debate for me. It's almost like both guys have the questions. It's more about what are you looking for in a pass rusher? What do you feel best complements your defense? And I think you can make a case for either guy, but I also think there are legitimate questions that kind of hold the evaluation back from them being one of those players that I mentioned before where you're going to sleep after night one of the NFL draft and you're resting easy because you know you got a dude.
Stony Keely has been our guest. Now, we know where you can find football and other F words, wherever you get your podcast. You can follow him at Stony Keely. But, Stony, what's the best way for folks to access your most recent work on the Substack?
Yeah, it's stackingtheinbox.com. And been in a bit of a lull the last couple of weeks because we're trying to wrap up this draft guide. But once we get that done, it'll be available there. And I'm also working on a few columns between now and the draft as well to kind of reset and get more involved in writing since I've been in my cave watching film and writing evals for the last 2 weeks.
Go get some sunshine. It's a beautiful day. Give yourself a break from the cave for the moment.
I could stand to get some fresh air, Lucas, because I'm teetering on looking like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Like I gotta get back to civilization at some point.
Can we watch film outside today? Could we? We got to get Stony a projector, man. Let him watch it outside.
I love that idea. I always say, like, the bar is some of the best place to watch film, so we just got to find one outside somewhere.
At Stony Keely, go follow his work, listen to football and other F words, read the man, and, buy his books. I mean, there's so much to plug here. Thanks, buddy.
Anytime, guys, anytime. Let's go have a Tuesday.
Love you, Stony.
Love you, Bert.
See, you were always going to get it back from
that's my
Stony.
buddy. That's my buddy.
Great stuff there, man. Ranging all over the place. Let's hone in a little bit on the quarterbacks because I do think just the list of names of QBs in this draft is an interesting one as we're about 3 weeks out. That's next on 104.5 The Zone. It is not a deep quarterback class in this draft. We know this. We've over-talked about it for months at this point. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Go get you some Hattie B's on this gorgeous Tuesday. Enjoy it outside. Maybe enjoy it on the patio out there in the West Nashville location, on Charlotte, several Middle Tennessee locations to choose from. Download the Hattie B's app to order for pickup or delivery, or go and dine in. But if you...
Hang on, wasn't Buck supposed to order us Hattie B's today?
Yeah, that never happened, did it?
He said he was going to.
Now, there may or may not be some Hattie B's out there tomorrow. Last time we were at Titan's house, we did enjoy some Hattie B's hot chicken sliders that hit the spot, as always. And we will be back at Titan's house tomorrow. In fact, the Zone is broadcasting all day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., from the Titans open house at Titans House, where you can come check out the new Nissan Stadium Experience Center, enjoy food, drink, special guests. If you come to the event and purchase a PSL, you will receive a new Titans jersey for free as a gift for your
PSL. For free?
Well, you got to buy the PSL, but the jersey is free if you buy the PSL.
Can you get it however you want it, or do you just get to pick from somebody on the team, or can you get your name on the back?
You got to come to find out.
Dang. I also found out that we were going to get a chance to try Hattie B's creation, the white hot chicken chili, but Buck's not there, so it will not be provided. I'm going to start flexing my big boss muscle a little bit and just not letting Buck go and do these things anymore.
You have that muscle.
I do have that muscle, and it's going to get flexed. Consider it flexed. Because I'm going to tell him today, dude, you're not going on these trips ever again. Ever again. We're going to send Lucas instead. Lucas is going to.
I don't want to go.
No, you're going. You're going, and you're going to like it. You're going to be talking to Diana Rossini.
Well, if somebody else pays for it, I'll go. I mean, he's paying his way to Arizona. Nobody asked Buck to go to owners' meetings, to be clear. He wanted to go, so he went. We're not going to stop him.
Well, if you're going, we'll pay for it.
And okay.
I'll put the company stamp on that.
Okay.
Quarterbacks.
We'll work it out in the break. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So, Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, Carson Beck, Diego Pavia, Joey Aguilar. Those are 5 quarterbacks that I just named that at one point or another were either among the biggest headlines in college football or were talked about as a first-round draft prospect at one point or another in their career, for a lot of them before the start of the 2025 college football season. None of those quarterbacks are the 2 that actually could be first-round draft picks. One that most definitely will be, and Fernando Mendoza at number 1 overall, and Ty Simpson that very well could hear his name called in the first round of the NFL draft. So it's so interesting to me, purely as a college football fan, how things have devolved for some of these guys. Bert, like looking back, Drew Aller, I remember thinking about him during Penn State's run to the college football playoff semifinal, not last year, obviously, but the year before, where we knew he had already announced he was coming back. It was why Bo Pribula transferred out before the playoffs started and everything. But I remember thinking, like, man, if Drew Aller declared right now instead of coming back to Penn State, dude could sneak into what, the second round? Who knows what would have happened with Drew Aller and what was kind of an odd quarterback class with how it shook out last year, with Dart rising up and Shuck and Gabriel going before Sanders. And now here he is after a dreadful season at Penn State and a season-ending injury and James Franklin getting fired, and he's completely under-discussed. And the same goes for Carson Beck, who at multiple points in his career has been deemed the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft and is coming off a run to the national championship with Miami, and we haven't even touched Carson Beck.
And then throw in Garrett Nussmeier, who
I didn't even mention Garrett Nussmeier.
In 24, dude was like a finalist for like any quarterback award you could think of. Everyone was touting him as being like the top of next year's quarterback class, and then he suffers an injury this year, falls short of expectations. Who, as an SEC fan, do you think he was impacted more on the departure of not Chip Kelly? Why can I not? Brian Kelly. Mm-hmm. If he was impacted more on the departure of Brian Kelly or the injury this year, what do you think impacted his issues more?
The injury. He was playing through stuff. It felt like throughout his time at LSU, And Brian Kelly would have been out one way or another, in my opinion. Things were just bad at LSU, man. Brian Kelly did not do at LSU the things he pledged to do. Garrett Nussmeier's injury certainly had an impact on their inability to move the football, the sheer amount of turnovers last year. But, yeah, I don't know that it would have had a major impact on the Kelly era.
So with that being said, and I think you could make a similar argument for Drew Aller, why is no one taking his evaluation with a grain of salt? Why are we not making excuses for him the same way we've made excuses for all these other quarterbacks? Because the talent you saw in 24 didn't just dissipate.
Sure.
It's just not there anymore. I mean, same thing for Drew Aller. His biggest problem is the dude can't throw an accurate ball. But, I could argue Garrett Nussmeier has shown more of that than he has. This class is just so fascinating to me because of the points that you noted about all of these highly touted college quarterbacks, where if they were able to, aside from Carson Beck, Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier, if they would have went back, where would they have ranked in transfer portal quarterbacks? Where would they have they would have been at the top of the list, even in this heralded transfer portal class.
Yeah, I mean, we know for a fact that Ty Simpson could have made $5-6 million in NIL in 2026 had he come back. But, yeah, no question. No question. If Carson Beck hadn't exhausted every ounce of his eligibility, and same goes for Drew Aller. Cade Klubnik, man. Cade Klubnik was very much talked about.
God, that dude's dookie soup. Though.
And that
I'll make an argument for Garrett Nussmeier and Carson Beck, but I'm not making an argument for him.
Drew Aller, by the way, Matt Miller's 7-round mock draft has him going 61 to the Rams in the second round.
Who?
Drew Aller.
Woof.
You don't see that, huh?
Woof. I just think any team that says they're going all in, they're not going to invest a top 100 pick in a quarterback that's not going to see the field. And if he does see the field, you're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
That
was before Sean McVay was on TV openly campaigning for Kirk Cousins to come be his backup.
Even after, man, you can figure out your succession plan. Their roster is already ready built. Anytime we talk about building a team, we talk about building the team around the quarterback and then grabbing the quarterback. Their team is built to punch and start anyone that you wanted to add that's a veteran. They could go get anyone who's a stable quarterback in the NFL and go to the playoffs because of the team they've built and their head coach.
So Klubnik, who knows where he lands in this draft, but Clemson is one of those teams that I think about when I think of fan bases that are going to watch the draft very begrudgingly, college fan bases, as they watch guys like Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. Who's the wide receiver? Antonio Williams,
Avion Terrell.
Super talented player. Blake Miller, the offensive tackle, is a first-round
TJ Parker.
Prospect. I mean, you could have 3 or 4, 2 or 3 first-round guys out of Clemson this year.
I think you asked Dane Brugler this question at the Combine.
I was fishing for him to say Clemson, and he went with Ohio State, which is fair. Just so chock full of talent to go one and done, bounced in the first round of the playoff.
But then to that point, Ohio State has, 2 prospects that could be taken in the first round with Tate and God, why am I
Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I was totally blanking on the rest
Caleb
of these
Downs.
Guys. Yeah, I was an idiot. That was wrong.
No, but
here come the text.
The point is, it's not that far off with Clemson, and Clemson fans, I think, are going to be watching the draft and just being like, "Dude, we went." What they go 7-5, 6-6 with these guys,
losing games to what Boston
is going on?
College.
It was a talented roster that Clemson had last year. But anyway, and then we hadn't even mentioned Joey Aguilar and Diego Pavia and the headlines they all drew for one reason or another. Aguilar led the SEC in passing in the regular season. Diego Pavia was a Heisman finalist, also quarterbacks in this draft. But we haven't heard a lick of a word said about any of those guys apart from Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, and rightfully so. Those are the 2 best QB prospects. I just think it's so fascinating to look at the arc of these guys' careers, how so many of them were talked about in such high esteem, and just how many of them saw their stock come crashing down last season.
And now they're fighting for QB3 in this draft with Cole Payton, who played at North Dakota State.
Yes, exactly. Taylon Green in there as well. Blew some numbers away at the Combine, the Arkansas quarterback.
Anybody not named Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson, I wouldn't touch with a top 100 pick if it was your money.
Oh, sure. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Will Buck actually be on time from Phoenix? We'll find out next.
The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you like they've helped guys who are dealing with ED or performance issues for over a decade. Because if you are dealing with those kind of complications, your relationships, your confidence, even your career may have already been affected. Online folks promise convenience and discretion, but their treatments can be generic, some even unsafe. So, guys, no more excuses. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is the state's first men's health-focused urology practice with multiple urologists and providers who are focused solely on male performance. No unproven snake oil or peptides without solid research. Since 2014, they've pioneered men's health in Tennessee and have been testing and growing to make sure that you get the best care and the safest, most effective treatments. So call today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or book online in under 30 seconds at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
12:03, good afternoon from the Circus Sports at the Mint, Kentucky Downs 104.5 The Zone studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The women's Final Four field is set as yesterday. Texas routed Michigan 77-41. South Carolina over TCU 78-52. And it's the exact same Final Four as the 2025 tournament. Only the second time in women's NCAA tournament history that has happened. The first since the mid-'90s in a Final Four field that included Tennessee. South Carolina will face UConn on Friday night. Texas will face UCLA Friday, all happening in Phoenix, Arizona. Also in Phoenix, league meetings underway for the NFL. NFC coaches spoke yesterday. AFC coaches spoke today. Robert Saleh saying that the Titans plan to host the Carolina Panthers this fall for a joint practice. The Nashville Sounds home opener is tonight, 6:35 at First Horizon Park, hosting Charlotte. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Continuing on this gorgeous Tuesday afternoon in Music City. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Coaches speaking, owners getting ready to meet, rule changes to be discussed, plenty of newsy nuggets around certain quarterback situations, and of course, maybe some pre-draft tidbits from Titans GM Mike Borganzi and head coach Robert Saleh from this week in Phoenix, which is where Buck currently is as he joins us. It's a shot in the dark. Are you with us?
I sure am. How are we?
Doing fantastic. It is I cannot emphasize how beautiful of a day it is in Middle Tennessee. I want to just go outside and sit on a lawn chair as soon as we get off the air.
I was tempted to bring my setup outside here in Phoenix because have you spent much time in Arizona?
I went to the Phoenix area for the first time in my life in January, just a couple months ago. Megan was interviewing there for her fellowship program. It was nice. I loved it.
It's awesome here today, and I thought about taking my setup outside, but I would immediately start to sweat. So it is your kind of weather out here, you lizard person.
Yeah, it would be better. Our day would be better if we were sweating.
If you were sweating?
So yeah, from what? That's what you're supposed to ask. What would make your day better to sweat from?
What's wrong?
Oh, some Hattie B's hot chicken. You know, the one that you said you would scheduled to be dropped off here so it could benefit Nashville's food shelters. You know, I just keep waiting on it. I keep going out there and looking, wondering if somebody took it off the front stoop, but alas.
So you're complaining.
Sorry, that was my stomach growling.
That's disgusting. That sounds like the sound that Lucas makes when he burps. And so you are complaining because you forgot to text me to ask me for lunch, which you know you have to do if you want me to do anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
I was supposed to text you.
The order of events here correctly.
Are we really going to go over texting each other to remind each other things? Proprietor, Mr. Sleepy Pants, Mr. Gallivant around the country at owners' meetings.
Yeah, I fell asleep during primetime the other day, or not during primetime. That would be hilarious. What was the name of that Steelers reporter that looked like he was sleeping at Mike Tomlin's press conference here last year? You guys remember that?
Or Mark got a big fat neck. I can't remember his name. Kababi or something.
He's a very large individual.
Is he there?
Sleeping at Mike. Yes, I did see Mark Kaboli. Yes. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on out here in Phoenix, of course. But we have concluded the Titans portion of the owners' meetings, or at least the media availability for the Titans component of owners' meetings.
Okay. What do you have to share? Let's start with, we read over a lot of the quotes from Mike Borganzi from Jim Wyatt's article, a lot of the stuff that he had to say about the pre-draft process and taking the best player available, echoing, honestly, a lot of the stuff he said before the draft last year in his first draft as the Titans GM. Let's focus in on Robert Saleh and circle back to Borganzi. We mentioned that he said the Panthers likely will come for a joint practice and that the Titans will look to schedule another. Anything else notable from the head coach?
Yeah, they've requested the Panthers, so I think that's an ongoing process.
Oh, so not official that the Panthers will be here?
No, not official yet. I mean, it may well be, right? These things typically come out at owners' meetings, but at least they are in the process of finalizing that. I'm sure when it is official, Jimmy will have something on the website, as he typically does. The interesting thing, because if you guys, I'm sure, as you mentioned, talked about Mike Borganzi's comments, it seemed like a lot of people read into that and just started screaming from the rafters, "Oh, they're taking Jeremiah Love. They're saying it, but not saying it." And then you do Robert Saleh's media availability today. So for the audience's reference, they had us do 20 minutes with Saleh, just locals, at 7:15 this morning, and then we all went into the media breakfast at 7:45, where we did an additional, I would say, 25 minutes before the Jets people could descend on him, and the Niners people that didn't have anything to do today could ask him a bunch of questions and things like that. But to hear Saleh tell it, Saleh was almost, I wouldn't say adamant, but very, very steadfast in the idea that, no, a pass rusher is a playmaker too. Like, I'm not, that playmaker doesn't just mean an offensive guy. I can't have enough edge players. And this is the dynamic that's going to be fascinating with this particular coaching staff. Because I asked him in the local session about what's the dynamic like with Dable, understanding that you are the head coach and that your word would have precedent here. And I need to go back and transcribe the full answer, but he made it sound like he and Dable aren't really talking about players yet, and the focus for the staff is just about scheme, which to me kind of seems, I don't know, that seems counterintuitive, especially given the rash of Dable and Saleh-related players that were brought in here that Mike Borganzi basically treated like, oh, no, it just kind of worked out that way, even though they did, clearly target a number of these guys that they had familiarity with. But for Saleh on the draft stuff, I really think that they're going to have, if they want to go with an offensive playmaker, I think they're going to have to talk the head coach out of it, because I think he really wants one of these edge guys at the top of the I know.
Yeah, his quote, edge rushers are playmakers too. That is interesting. I could take more from that than Mike Borganzi saying we're going to take the best player available regardless of position. They said that last year. They took Cam Ward number 1 overall and said they believed he was the best player on the board, which many people would disagree with, and you could talk about the positional value of the quarterback position versus others, but I think whoever the Titans take at number 4 overall, Mike Borganzi is going to say, yeah, we believe he was the best player available.
Yeah, but that's like saying, okay, is Cam Ward a generational talent? Because that was the thing last year, and then they didn't take the quote-unquote generational talent, right? That was Travis Hunter. They took the quarterback because they wanted the quarterback, and they needed the quarterback. So people are always going to read into every word, parse every word, come up with their own draft conspiracy theories based on, no, he said this at this particular time, at this particular hour, on this date, and that means definitively that they're going to take Jeremiah Love at the top of the draft. Now, just calm down, okay? The more that and again, we're weeks away from the NFL draft taking place. I guess about 3 weeks away from the NFL draft taking place. And if you ask me today, if they had a number of these edge guys on the board and Carnell Tate on the board and Jeremiah Love on the board, I don't think right now, I don't think that Jeremiah Love would be the pick.
All right. Buck joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. Anything else from Saleh's sit down with you guys that stuck out this morning?
He tried to skirt, because obviously we talked yesterday about the replacement refs and how the league has said that there is an edict, do not speak, hear no evil, see no evil, regarding replacement referees in front of media. He got closer to commenting on the collective bargaining agreement relating to when players and coaches can have interactions specifically about football, because his quarterback's coming off of, it's a return to play situation. He's throwing, and Saleh said, we know he's throwing, but we can't see him throw. I can't be in the building, or he can't be in the building and throw. He has to go do these things on his own. So I asked him about the dynamic of trying to, balance that, making sure that Cam is progressing in a way that they as a staff would like, and the level of communication that you can have with personal quarterback coaches and things like that. They do have some level of, because he's still in the building. Cam is rehabbing in Nashville. He's around every day. It's just about the specificity of the football-related activities and how much Saleh can or cannot, or Dable can or cannot engage with him. So he said it's been a balance, and he stopped himself before he got too far, into getting fined. And then the other conversation is about positional versatility. And his belief, and I actually bounced around to a couple of the different coaches' tables. I talked to or asked the question of Sean Payton, Clint Kubiak, Vrabel, a number of other coaches today about how you go about using a player that you know has positional versatility, but what's the ramp-up process for a young guy so they don't get in over their head? How quickly can you identify, okay, no, this dude is swimming. We got to roll it back a little bit. Let's focus on where we need him to start. So whether it's with a specific position group or, nickel versus outside corner. Alontae Taylor was an example that he used about, no, we want Alontae to play corner. Nickel is an entirely different position, and Saleh doesn't think it's fair. Like if they get down to the wire on injuries, yeah, you have a guy who can do it, but they are going to try and be as positionally specific with these guys as they can, as opposed to, okay, this part here can help us cover up this piece here and all these different things. And that's really what this free agency is about, which I think is, as we talked about yesterday, antithetical to who they want to be. But they feel a level of urgency. Year 2 for Mike Borganzi and his staff, year 1 for Robert Saleh and his staff, they have to show that they can do that, not necessarily win, like come out with a winning record, but you have to be better than the last couple of years of Titans football has been. And I think the front office clearly feels that way.
More boots on the ground coverage from owners' meetings in Phoenix next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Be sure to download the Hattie B's app today, and you'll be surprised just how much you can stack up rewards, how generous Hattie B's is with those rewards, which shouldn't be surprising with how much they gave to local food banks across the country yesterday on National Hot Chicken Day. No hot chicken for the folks in Arizona, just hot weather. The nearest Hattie B's is in Vegas, but Buck is in Phoenix after coaches have been speaking for the last couple of days. We will hear from some owners here in the next 24 hours. I did see that Jay Glazer, he tweeted, one of my favorite days of the year, our 18th annual NFL head coaches day drinking day at NFL owners meetings, and Glazer's just panning the video where basically every head coach in the league is hanging out, talking, having a drink, a few media members there. Apparently Michael Phelps is there. What happened? You didn't catch the invite? Your buddy Vrabel didn't ask you to come along to this one?
Oh, no, I just didn't share. There was I'm surprised any of them made it to meetings afterwards, in fact. Also, Robert will be delighted to know that John Harbaugh, life of the party.
I feel like he's making this up. I feel like he's standing outside of the gate at the establishment. They're literally all hanging out, day drinking now, having a good time.
Oh, you mean today?
Yeah, I mean like literally right now.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, they're doing it again then after yesterday. So the Michael Phelps development, he is one of the speakers. Last year we had Serena Williams, Caitlin Clark, and Eli Manning for the breakout sessions because they have the welcome, even though it's like halfway through the event. The welcome party was last night, and so all of the media, the owners, Goodell, they had mini donkeys and sombreros running around for the children at this media party last night. But I guess the day drinking has taken on a day 2 of day drinking because that was very much the case yesterday.
Buck outside the gate, like laughing at Vrabel.
It's a great joke, Mike.
It was a good one, Vrabes.
615-737-1045 if you have any questions for anything that's going on at owners meetings this week. So owners will be in the building tomorrow. Will they be speaking tomorrow? When do votes happen? How does this all work moving forward here?
Well, I mean, they've been in committee all week. I mean, they've been voting on a variety of different things throughout the course of the week, including, obviously, we talked yesterday about the Super Bowl. Something I didn't mention on the show that I guess I didn't know until after the show wrapped up is that Amy Adams-Strunk gave a presentation yesterday. In fact, I ran into Amy earlier this afternoon before I came back to the room to do the radio show. And it's a part of their pitch, her and Burke Nihill. Burke Nihill did the bulk of the presentation. Amy obviously got up there with some initial comments talking about the new Nissan Stadium, what a great opportunity this is for the NFL to showcase itself in the city of Nashville for future events, not just the Super Bowl, of course, but the Super Bowl being the ultimate goal. So they have continued to be in meetings. I know there was a break earlier this afternoon. What time is it here? It's 10:30 in the morning, a little before 10:30 in the morning right now. So they are going to continue to be in meetings until, I believe, 4 o'clock today. Goodell has a all-encompassing press conference where there will be additional questions asked about the various rule modifications, bylaws, and things like that they will be voting on. And I'm sure he'll get questions about the replacement refs things, but we do not expect there to be much clarity other than those are ongoing negotiations. But for all intents and purposes, guys, this is the last day of the event, even though it technically is supposed to run through tomorrow.
Yeah, like the replacement refs thing is sort of the headline of league meetings in Arizona, but coaches are told and GMs are told to not really speak on it. It's not like there's a vote that can happen on it to impact anything. It's just about if the NFL and the referees union can come together and figure something out. But we're just kind of talking around it. It's this weird thing where last year the tush push took over, but there was some actual closure on that the ban did not get voted through. Whereas,
yeah, it got tabled.
Yeah,
right. They just tabled the vote and said, okay, we'll circle back to it at a later date.
And they're not circling back to it.
Not this year, no. But, I mean, I'm sure that it will come up again. I don't think we've heard the last of the tush-push voting. Some coach will be offended by it at some point, and a team will present it. This year, what the big push for a change was, I believe, submitted by the Browns. They've since withdrawn the proposal about being able to trade picks 5 years into the future, essentially. So giving up a 2031 first-round pick for the opportunity to acquire a player in 2026, right? The Browns were trying to push that forward the way that the NBA does, where I don't know what the NBA's limit on how far into the future you can trade first-round picks or how many future first-round picks you can do, but the Browns apparently got voted down on that. The only real ally, as we understood it, that they had was the Rams. The Rams were very big proponents of trying to get that done because bleep all the first-round picks, not just this year's, but 10 years into the future.
But there are some proposals from the competition committee to be voted on. Again, a yes vote means at least 24 of the 32 teams voting yes. Among those proposals is kicking modifications, including a proposal that will allow the kicking team to declare an onside kick at any time during the game rather than only when trailing or in the fourth quarter, which is currently the case. Still no surprise onside kicks with the new kickoff format that got approved a year ago. There's also a proposed rule change that would eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally boot the ball out of bounds when they're kicking off from the 40, and a third proposal that calls for modifying the alignment requirements for receiving players in the setup. So if there's anything actually on the field that can be impacted by any voting this week, it seems like it'll be the kicking game.
Yeah, I mean, and they've continued to tinker with that, especially since they've adjusted the kickoff, right? It's basically an exploratory period year over year for the kickoff as they try to determine, okay, did we accomplish what we set out to accomplish, which is that they want more explosive plays in the kicking game, right? They want more return opportunities. They feel like they've successfully done that. There are some things that coaches have since taken into account, what's the word? Not dialogued, but just kind of taken note of that they would like to provide feedback at the annual meetings, and this is their opportunity to kind of submit that, be like, hey, we like the general direction that this is heading in, but here's how we can make it better for the players. Here's how we can make it more efficient for the coaches. John Bones Fossil, I'm not worried about him being prepared for what may come at any point on special teams, but that's very much a work in progress as far as the NFL goes since we've implemented the new kickoff.
Judy Batista reporting that NFL owners have approved an expansion of behavioral and mental health services, and teams must now have a full-time mental health clinician at their facility. So that's a new thing that is made official this week.
Well, and that's another thing that we talked to, a different kind of conversation, right, with Brett Kern, where we were mentioning who was this? Was it TJ Watt that had an issue with a dry needling situation this year?
Yeah, I think there was a Tyrod Taylor type issue with TJ Watt this year.
Not a full-on punctured lung from a team doctor, right? But somebody that they had brought in, that they had hired externally to come perform services at the facility for the players, which Brett told us is not uncommon, right? There's a lot of people that get contracted out by NFL teams to come in and provide services that they might not otherwise have in-house. But I think for me personally, I think it's a great thing for them to have somebody in-house on staff, full-time employed, to make sure that these players have a resource that they can go to that's not just their teammates and their coaches. Because, I know we joke about us not having HR because we don't technically have HR in the building, right? Cumulus has like a corporate HR nebulous overlord floating around somewhere in Dallas or Atlanta or wherever. But what's an NFL player's HR, right? If they're dealing with something that is not ideal in their workplace and they need somebody that they can go to in confidence and talk about. What have we seen any kind of reporting on Christian Wilkins? By the way, just as an aside,
I completely forgot about it.
But how could you? That's one of the crazier stories that I can remember, where a good player signs a mega deal, gets cut because they had a disagreement on first and foremost, or at least they were publicly fronting it, as that they had a disagreement over return to play and surgical procedures and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden these weird reports about, things that he can't come back from in the locker room. I don't know if either of you saw the Jordan Renan tweet, the Giants ESPN.com reporter saying that he finds it difficult to believe that Christian Wilkins would be able to come back from whatever issues he was having in that Raiders locker room at the time, assuming that Jordan Renan knows what the hell happened there. Because as far as I've seen, people just have stopped reporting that story. And I'm not saying that Christian Wilkins specifically needs somebody that he can go to in an NFL facility, but the players that were impacted by whatever this behavior is, right? Because it was reported that a player felt so uncomfortable with Christian Wilkins that he felt he had to go to team HR to describe that level of discomfort with whatever the behavior was. So if they can put somebody in-house, they can address those issues, help players with mental health, because it is, and I know that boohoo millionaire athletes, what do they need, additional psychiatric help and therapeutic help for? But, we all deal with stressors in our job. These are highly pressurized situations. And I mean, what has HR been and what has mental health consulting been for NFL players other than, go talk to your coach about it?
Well,
I don't know if that's the best solution all the time.
It's funny you say that, but I saw this week, Keith Bullock posted it on Bullseye View, his podcast. He had Brad Hopkins on, who I believe will be around tomorrow at Titan's House when we're broadcasting from there. But they were talking about exactly that. And we're basically saying, no, HR is what you're going to do on the practice field the next day. You got an issue with the guy. That's HR, is you put on the pads and you put him in your crosshairs the next day at practice.
Which is fair for a different generation of athlete. I'm not discounting, how people handled their business in the early 2000s. But, I mean, how much have sports generally and discussions around mental health evolved? And just specifically with how you have to deal with a younger generation of athletes. I know, older people or people of a certain, generation don't want to capitulate to all these different things that they consider to be frivolous or ancillary for younger players. But, this is a real thing that athletes deal with, just as we talk about mental health struggles for people of a younger generation, no matter what you do. I think it's an important thing that the league voted in, so good on them.
So we'll see if there are any changes to the current kickoff structure and anything else that comes with actual voting this week. Like we said, there can be no closure provided this week on the referee negotiations. It's just something that's looming. Go ahead.
Well, you may want to get to this at some point, and I'm sure you've already talked about it, but is Jermod McCoy working out today? I haven't followed any pro day stuff while I've been out here.
Yeah, I think pro day was supposed to start at 11:45 Central Time, 12:45 Eastern. So they should be about 45 minutes in. We were talking about it earlier, that he's expected to work out. I've not seen any updates at this point. A lot of times Tennessee football will live stream it. They're not doing that. They're posting videos of Joshua Joseph's vertical. So we'll stay tuned, but we'll see what else comes out. He is expected to work out today. Obviously, it's a huge opportunity for him to solidify himself as a first-round pick after not doing so at the Combine and all the questions about his health.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'd be honest, I have not caught much of the pro day coverage anywhere, but I know that today was Tennessee's day, and this is a huge opportunity. I mean, I don't know that we would talk about Jermod McCoy at 4th overall. I don't think anybody thinks that would be a move, but certainly I don't think that they're done at the cornerback position just because they signed 3 in free agency.
No, and we were talking about that with Stony. He's got plenty of names at that spot as well that could be in play for the Titans. Colton Hood is also commonly mocked as a first-round draft pick. We'll see what that looks like, if they can be the first duo of Tennessee players to be drafted in the same first round since Eric Berry and Dan Williams 16 years ago.
Dan Williams.
Bust. That did not work out for Dan Williams in Arizona. Obviously worked out pretty well for Eric Berry in the NFL. Joshua Joseph's 38.5-inch vertical, but that's all I have confirmed from Vols Pro Day, so we'll continue to monitor. But on the referee thing, Roger Goodell gives his State of the League press conference. When is that? Is that tomorrow?
No, it's in like an hour and a half, I think.
Oh, it's today. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he provides any updates on where things stand. But we mentioned this earlier. I kind of want to rehash this because I feel like most people don't really know the crux of the issue right now on why the league and the referees union seem to be so far apart. So this is from The Athletic. They say nobody wants replacement referees, but neither side is willing to compromise. The NFL, which pays referees on average $350,000 per season, including base pay, bonuses, and other benefits. The NFL wants to redirect some of the annual bonus money toward high-performing officials and increase the probationary period for new officials. The league also wants a deeper talent pool to tap into if poorly performing officials need to be replaced. So the NFL wants incentive for referees to perform better and wants a trapdoor of sorts for there to be some sort of recourse if you don't perform as a referee and there to be somebody waiting in the wings. And if I'm to read this correctly, the referees union's like, oh, no, we don't want any of that.
Yeah, the refs don't want further accountability.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want things that would jeopardize the current existing. It's people talk about boys' clubs in their respective professions, right? So the refs are protecting one another by saying, no, if we open up the door to this, how much, what kind of can of worms could it create? Because these are not low-paying gigs, right? I mean, refs are making. Last I remember looking, and it's been a little while since I've checked in, but I'm pretty sure an NFL referee pulls in about $200K. Like, and those are side gigs, right? Like this is not chump change.
Well, no, it's an average of $350,000 per season.
So it's up considerably from the last time that I looked. Still, so
and that's including bonuses and other benefits,
right? And the way that they grade them out and how they determine who gets a better assignment versus who gets stuck on Titans Jags on a Sunday at noon or something like that. Like these things have been, these things have continued to escalate over the years, and it's one of those things where the refs have always kept a smaller circle. And think about how many refs' kids are now involved in this. We also have, by the way, at some point, we do have some of the voting. The official voting from the competition committee on rule changes is coming through. If you would like to get people updated on that one way or the other, Lucas, at whatever point.
Well, let's update folks on something we were just talking about. Robert says he does have Jermod McCoy workout numbers at Tennessee's Pro Day.
Yeah, so this is per Adam Schefter. McCoy ran a 4.3840, a 38-inch vertical jump, and a 10.7 broad jump. And I cross-examined that with the Combine. His 40, running a 4.38, would have been tied for second at the Combine.
Is that among corners?
Among corners, yes. His vert would have been tied for 15th, and his broad jump would have been tied for 10th.
Okay. Where do you feel like that comes in, Lucas, relative to your expectations for him?
He can run and he can jump. I guess that.
But 10th on anything for a guy who's going to be, and I'm not saying that that's an end-all be-all. I'm just saying, do we feel like that athletic testing matches up with the player that he's supposed to be?
I care about the 40.
Robert, I'd also be curious to know your input on that.
So, as Robert said, it ties him for second among corners at the Combine. It would tie him with Dalen Everett, the corner out of Georgia. Toriano Pride Jr. had the fastest 40 for a corner at the Combine at 4.32. It is a great name. I don't think Mansour Delane didn't.
He didn't test.
He didn't test at the Combine. Colton Hood did. He ran a 4.4440, which was a little bit further down. He's still expected to go in the first round. But, yeah, the issue with Jermod McCoy, to me, is more that he has not played football since December of 2024. That was never going to change regardless of how he tested at Pro Day. But to me, 4.3840, which is, I don't know, I'm not a ball knower, but it's kind of the only thing of those numbers that I really care about for a cornerback. Seems good to me. Yeah, that's fast. That's a fast guy. So he's healthy enough to run fast. I'm good. It was never going to change that he hasn't played football in over a year and a half.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put too much stock in the fact that he was lower in the verts and the broads because the guys that beat them are, and I've talked about this extensively, this is a longer cornerback class, and inherently cornerbacks that are longer are going to have better verts and broads than Jermod McCoy, who is, one, coming off an injury, and two, 6 foot. The guys that are in front of him in the broad, Will Lee, who is 6 foot 1.5, Brandon Cisse, who is 6 foot even, Latrell McCutcheon, who is 6'2", Malik Muhammad, who is 6 foot and change. So all these guys ahead of him are a little bit taller and a little bit longer than he is. So I wouldn't put a bunch of negative stock in the fact that he did that. In fact, I would put positive stock in the fact that he's recovering from an ACL and still ranked as highly as he did in explosive drills.
We do have some competition committee related to NFL officiating voting that has just come in, and I think that we should talk about that coming up next.
We'll do that. It is a beautiful day to be out and about in Music City. It's a beautiful day maybe to go eat some lunch on a patio with your family, your friends. It's a perfect day to go get you some Hattie B's. National Hot Chicken Day was yesterday, but that's okay. You can still celebrate by going to any one of Hattie B's Middle Tennessee locations, whether it's on Broadway, West Nashville, Melrose, Midtown. Maybe the next time you're checking out Nashville Soccer Club, enjoying Hattie B's Hot Chicken inside of Geodis Park. Order for pickup or delivery. You can dine in as well at any one of these Hattie B's locations. If you download the Hattie B's app today, you get a free dessert just for downloading the app. That's it, and you can continue to stack rewards from there, whether you're ordering for pickup or delivery. That crispy, juicy, perfect hot chicken, mild, medium, hot, shut the cluck up, whatever heat level that works for you. And if you're like me, you're all about the sides, the pimento mac and cheese, the southern greens. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. Go to HattieB.com or download the Hattie B's app today and start building those rewards now. All right. We have updates from owners' meetings. We have a vote, a proposal that's been approved. And Buck, since he decided to venture out to Phoenix, I guess we can get him to make himself useful here in a moment. but we'll go ahead and lay it out for you now. Ari Myrov is the one putting this out there. NFL owners have approved a proposal allowing teams to declare an onside kick at any time during the game, rather than only when trailing or in the fourth quarter. So still no surprise onside kick. You still have to declare your intent. Obviously, it dramatically influences how you line up as the receiving team. But you can onside kick at any point. So, all right. Bit of a no-brainer in terms of a tweak off of the kickoff format that was established last year. But I don't know. I mean, were you one of those people that was perturbed that the surprise onside kick is gone in the NFL? Because a lot of people seem to be bothered by that. And I do enjoy that, just having that element, but it's rarely happened, obviously, in highly impactful situations. The most impactful, obviously, the Saints Super Bowl against the Colts. But that still is not something that can happen under the current format.
Well, hell yeah. Why wouldn't you be annoyed by the idea that they have to announce it? Like, the percentage chance that these things work is already so minimal. You remove any further chance that a team has to actually execute this play, which can be, of course, a game-changing play. It's the entire reason it exists. But if everybody knows that it's coming, and understanding that you get into these game situations where, yes, it's assumed that a team is going to have to onside kick to give themselves an opportunity to get the ball back and stay in the game and try and go out and win the game or tie the game, whatever the case may be, take it to overtime. But declaring it just completely takes any element of surprise out of it. So, yeah, the Sean Payton thing is a one-off, but there are still instances where a team you shouldn't have to fully prepare your opponent for a play that's getting ready to be called.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point. This doesn't fix anything. It's like, even if you're up, you can do it now, but you have to declare. Whenever has a team been up and it been a good decision for them to just, by the way, guys, we're going to do the thing where we try to get another possession out of this. Like, this doesn't fix anything. In fact, I think this is dumber. I would have rathered it stay the way it was.
Just fourth quarter,
yes,
or
fourth
trailing.
Quarter and only trailing. That's the only time you to do it. Well, because that makes sense. Okay, they probably knew we were going to onside kick anyway here, but like saying, you can do it whenever, but you still have to declare is stupid.
We should put it to a poll tomorrow at Lucas Panzikas, where you can vote on the polls today. We should put it to a poll tomorrow. Just have people propose something, anything, to fully replace the onside kick, right? Whether it's the 4th and 10 or 4th and 20 scenario or whatever. I feel like we are not far from, some sort of replacement if you want to get back possession while trailing.
So the NFL has also approved another rule. A rule change allowing the league to consult with on-field officials on potential disqualifications, in quotations, both flagrant football acts and non-football acts, in quotation, and place a flag on the field. Essentially, as an example, it's the DK Metcalf situation last year. After he wasn't ejected following an incident with a Lions fan because there was no flag. So saying DK could not be ejected because there was not a flag, now they're able to talk with officials on the field and say, hey, you need to put a flag on the field because of this, so we are able to eject a player.
Okay, and then to add to that, this is from Ari Myrov. NFL owners have approved a rule that if replacement refs are used this season, it would allow the NFL officiating department in New York to correct clear and obvious misses that impact the game. So
it's the Fail Mary rule.
Exactly. He uses the Fail Mary as the example. If something like that were to happen again, New York could swoop in and correct the call.
Yeah, and that's the way that you hedge your bets against. Because, I mean, had we ever had replacement? I haven't been around long enough to know whether we've had replacement refs before that 2013 or 2014 season where they would have at least a precedent to okay, this was a very public instance that we have to protect ourselves specifically against. This cannot be allowed to decide a game again.
Great question.
So, and one thing I'd like clarified. So, Tom Pelissero put this out, the 4 rules that have been approved. So, by the competition committee, by the way, so the Fail Mary rule that we were just discussing is a 1-year only proposal. Yeah. So, they will reevaluate this next year at owners' meetings. But, the competition committee approved to modify the kickoff alignment requirements for the receiving team's players in the setup zone. So when you're there tomorrow, I would like clarification on if this means that there is a mandatory two men back to receive a kickoff, or if teams are allowed to just have one guy to return now, which would essentially place another blocker. I like this rule because it continues to add gamesmanship to the kickoffs, where before the way it was sold to us was this is like a running play. This is still a play, and it didn't feel like that when we were watching it. It still looked like a kickoff. So if that is indeed what the rule change is, and the receiving team is now allowed to move someone out of the return zone as an extra blocker or as a fake, there's a bunch of things you could do with that. I would like that clarified tomorrow if you have the chance to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, I sure can.
All right, final thoughts on the Titans side of things from league meetings after Borganzi and Saleh made the rounds.
Everybody's waiting around to see what Arizona does, right? Like Arizona being completely up in the air. I talked to a couple of Cardinals beat writers yesterday at the media party just to kind of gauge, is there any general direction that you guys think that they're going to end up heading? Because that, of course, directly affects what the Titans are going to be able to do. And they seem like they're even more up in the air. I mean, I guess tackle and edge are the two places where they are kind of circling the same way that we are wide receiver and edge in the draft this year, but everything really is dictated by these two previous picks outside of Mendoza, because we understand that. And then, I'm very, very curious to see, not something that we got clarification on here, but just like a developing story that's worth monitoring with this coaching staff. What's this dynamic going to be like between, I almost called him Sable and Dalla, Saleh and Dable, as two former head coaches, understanding that one is by rank superior to the other, but both are very, very opinionated. What's the line from McShay, Robert? Dable didn't come here to play with sticks?
Yeah, he didn't come here to play with sticks.
That's something that we asked Saleh about, essentially, and within the conversation of adding offensive playmakers through the draft, and he kind of kept going back to the line about defensive guys are playmakers too. So if that's being met with any level of resistance already externally, what the hell does that look like for them? And how does Borganzi break the tie that way? I assume you just go with your head coach, with whatever your head coach wants to do, to not upset the ranks. But that's just a fun little thread to follow through that made an appearance this week.
You media vultures just want to see Saleh fight somebody. That's all you want.
I think I want to see Dable fight somebody.
You just want to see those big old sculpted arms taking a swing at a coworker or at a divisional opponent.
Did we just discover your coaching man crush?
I mean,
we did.
Robert Saleh's jacked. This is no secret.
No.
He's no Italian.
He also did they
I honestly think Dable. Everything that I hear about Dable is Dable's got a way worse temper. So I think I'm kind of low key on Dable on that one.
Yeah, ask Wink Martindale.
Yeah,
and Mike Kafka.
They also paired the
and
ball.
That poor team doctor that was trying to evaluate Dart for a concussion.
Oh yeah, I feel bad for that person. They also evaluate or put the bald coaches all next to each other in the head coach's picture. They had Glenn and D'Amico Ryans next to each other to the left side, and Andy Reid, Robert Saleh, and Dan Quinn were all clumped up together on the right side.
Oh, it's every year there's two or three coaches who I look at in that picture, or two or three GMs, like, who the hell are those people? And I until yesterday had no idea that Ben Johnson had hair. I thought he was a bald.
Clint Kubiak is going to be that one for me. It's going to take me a minute to see Clint Kubiak and be like, yeah, that's Clint Kubiak.
Well, just look at the way that he's positioned in that picture. He looks like a kid in timeout. They just added an extra chair on there for him at the end because they forgot about him.
All right, well, no time for the polls, but if we had done the polls, they would have been presented by Two Rivers Ford. More to discuss tomorrow with Tennessee's Pro Day results. We will be live out at Titan's house, so come by. If you get a PSL, you get a free jersey. But until then, Cover 2 coming up next.
This is a different court, Blair. Same result, Slay. Okay, Blair. See, that's Tyler Tanner. See, Tyler Tanner's in the house now.
Let's see what you got. Jury's out, Blair.
Blair, come on. Okay, Blair, just come sit down. Come on, Blair. Blair, stop. You're going to get hurt. Blair, get off the court. That's enough.
What's the verdict, Blair?
The courtroom is where I play ball. Bar Durham, injury law. And that